At 7:01, I'd like to call the meeting to order. And could we stand for the pledge of allegiance, please? Why don't we have someone from the audience today? Yes, would you please? Thank you so much.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming, everyone. Okay. We are a dynamic society here and an organization, and things change from minute to minute. So there's a few, we're going to be trying to follow exactly what it says on the program, okay? But you never know, we do try. So the first thing after the call to order and pledge is public comment. Now, as the chair, I have a discretion of limiting the length of time of public comment due to the amount of work we have. We were out of here like at 10:30 last time. We're not going to do another 10. Hopefully it's not going to be another 10:30. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to limit public speaking to 20 minutes, okay? So we have, you're limited to 5 minutes at this point by the bylaws. And anyone who would like to speak, you will be time for 5 minutes. And then after 20 minutes, we'll close public comment. And then we will revisit it at the end of the night for anyone who has something they wanted to add. So, yes.
Hi, Deb Levins, 25 Morrison Drive. I'm just here to speak in support of the library. Some of you know me. I've been using Leach Library since 1970. So it was Matthew Thornton. It was even simple, I don't know what it's called. But anyway, it's a valuable asset to our community, and I think we should take it as inclusive as possible. I personally am very, very frightened by book banning, and I am making an effort now to read more banned books, just to say that I have. And I hate to see anything that's going to stop people from being able to get access to any book they want. It's a great library, and let's keep it that way.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Comments? Other comments?
Hi, Kate Collins. Do you want to come stand?
Yeah, you want to step up
Sorry.
to the podium? That way you can be on the camera better.
All right, let's give you my address.
Yes.
16 Woodland Drive. I just wanted to echo my enthusiasm for the library. This is actually the third time I've come here today. I tutor here a few hours a week. Everyone is so friendly and helpful. I use the study room. I use the photocopier. I'm just so grateful that this space exists and that everyone here is so helpful and kind. My kids love the library too. We signed up for the summer reading program today. One of my sons loves the escape rooms. We make frequent use of the interlibrary loans. They're voracious readers, and I don't know what we would do if we couldn't request books from other libraries. And I just wanted to say I'm really pleased with the way the library works, and we really appreciate everything that it has to offer.
Thank you.
That's so great to hear. Thank you very much. Thank you. We'll look forward to seeing you more often here then. Yes.
Richard Polinsky, 89 Hall Road. After watching the last meeting online, I've got some questions that I had questions about before. Basically, your bank accounts. Who's on them? Who are the signers? Who's the super user? Because there seems to be some miscommunication about that. Based upon what Erin said, she's the super user, because that's the person that can put according to the definition of that, that's the person who can put people on and off the accounts. Which she said at the last meeting, she was the one doing that. So going by that, otherwise, you tell me who the super user is, because I'd be curious to know. Second is, I don't understand why the library director is even on the bank accounts. Under New Hampshire state law, all monies and the distribution of those monies are to be done by the Board of Trustees. Erin can come in and say we need this or that and put it to the board and get it. That's fine. It's not her job to be getting the bank statements, not making the statements, from what I've been told, available, not making the checkbooks available to the treasurer who I've spoken about. It's also come to my attention that the treasurer has signed over $90,000 worth of checks for the book line, and she's not even on the account. That's a problem. All right? The treasurer went down to the bank to try to get information and get this straightened out. They wouldn't speak to her. She's the treasurer of this board. They should speak to her. Instead, my information is they called Erin and said she was down there. Again, don't understand, there's nothing against Erin, why she's involved in this. The money is at the purview of this board to spend it. She can come in with requests and all that, that's fine. That's part of her job. So I want to get some information on this. I want to know who the users are on the accounts, what accounts they're on, because you seem to have two accounts, the trustee account and the book account. I believe by the law you're supposed to have a third account that's supposed to be held separate. That's for fines and such. I didn't bring the RSA, but I know there's an RSA to that. You need to get these straightened out. The fact that Jan, who's your treasurer, who you people voted in as the treasurer, can't get the information, that's an issue. The fact that she's signing checks on an account she's not even on, that's an issue. That's a legal issue. So this needs to be straightened out, and I'd like somebody to get back to me in the next week or so and let me know.
I'll let you know now. It's this, under other today, there's going to be discussion.
Okay.
We're going to come with a resolution within the next 2 weeks or so, and I will get you exactly the information you want once it's all resolved. Okay?
All right, well, it's good that you're going to talk about it, but it really shouldn't take 2 weeks. It should take a day or two to straighten out. And if the bank isn't going to cooperate and they're not going to check the signatures on the check to make sure that it's people who are signatories on the account, then get a new bank. Because it doesn't seem like they're doing that either. This is all stuff that I made sure got done when I was the treasurer for the town 20 years ago. It's all stuff that should be done. Do you people ever see accounts payable to sign off on your accounts payable? Because my understanding is that's going directly to the town and you're not signing off on accounts payable. Why not? I think the treasurer should get it. I used to sign off on it from the town. I got what they called the warrant at that time. They called it a warrant with everything, the accounts, make sure it went to the right account lines and everything. And if I had a question, I questioned it, and then I would sign off on it. Doesn't seem like you're getting that either. I actually don't know what you're doing with any of the money. So I'd like some answers to these questions. Thank you.
Thank you, and you will get them. Thank you very much. Yes.
Okay, Pete Rivers, 21 Kelly Road. One of the things that came up at the last meeting was librarians being at-will employees. It's on line 159 in the draft minutes from May 20th. I wanted to point out that that's actually incorrect. Librarians and library staff are appointed positions through the Board of Trustees. They're not at will, and they're protected under RSA 17. The RSA 202, A11, charges the library trustees with appointing librarians who shall not be a trustee and in consulting with librarians and so on and so forth. But basically, everyone who works for the library is an appointed position and is thus not under at-will employment. And they can only be removed for malfeasance, misfeasance, or inefficiency in office, or incapacity or unfitness to perform the said duties. And then there's written notice and hearings and all sorts of other requirements. But the library director position, any of the positions of the library, nobody's at will. Everybody is protected as they are all appointed positions. And then I was reviewing the job description, and I looked at job descriptions from the New Hampshire Library Trustees Association site, Concord, Rochester. A lot of those job descriptions also include things like long-range planning, leading staff in the implementation of the long-range plans, selection of books, library material, maintaining the collection, discarding outdated materials, and replacing, repairing, or discarding other damaged materials. Things like that were included in the job description. I would suggest things that like that be included. And then I saw that there are reports that are going to be provided, monthly reports, like the director's schedule. I feel like that's kind of vague. Schedule of what? Employee evaluations, for what, for who, is it her employee evaluation? Is she evaluating other employees? That might need some clarity. And then a list of meetings attended. Are those just the ones that you want them to list, or because I'm a director in my particular role and I attend at least 6 meetings a day, and so every month I had to list off all the meetings I attended in the past month. That would take up quite some time, so I just think we need to be a little bit more specific of that. It seems like some of these lists and reports that are going to be provided seem more micromanaging. And I think we need to be careful between accountability and micromanaging in a job description level, because somebody at the director level should really be trusted to do their job now as it's revised, and in the future whenever we get a new library director. So, thank you.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
I'm sorry. Did you say that you were a resident of Londonderry?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Because I'm
you.
just sitting here. Okay.
Yes.
Could I have the RSA again?
Yeah.
Which one?
The RSA 17.
There's RSA 17, that's about the removal from the appointed position, and then RSA 11 is the one that charges the trustees with appointing the librarians. So that's why they're not at-will employees, because they are appointed to that particular position. So thus removal requires a whole
Thank you.
process. Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Yes.
Megan Donovan, 45 Chase Road. I am an employee of the town, but I am here today speaking on my own thoughts and wishes. So I would like the trustees to consider going fine-free with the remainder of the collection. Currently, we are fine-free on reading materials, and we went fine-free for the summer in 2022, and there was a really positive feedback from the community in that. And then when we did resume fines, it was on DVDs, Library of Things, and music, pretty much. And for me, I think as a patron and citizen of Londonderry, where you guys are trying to help struggling families, this is the single most impactful thing that you could do as a board, to go fine-free to help those struggling families. Because if they have no money to pay for coffee, they won't have money to pay for a $5 fine if they were late on a movie. By going fine-free, we would also be able to do automatic renewals, and that would also help families that are just busy. Everybody's busy right now. So I would just ask you to consider this. I do have some statistics. In 2022, the national level of fine libraries that were fine-free was well over 4,000, which is more than 50% of the public libraries in the country. In 2023, this New Hampshire State report had 59% of New Hampshire libraries. I know that number is significantly higher, as libraries in 2023 and 2024, and even coming up in 2025, are also going fine-free. So I think it is a growing trend. In lieu of having fines, I would suggest putting an amnesty jar at the desk, something that you could, or a conscience jar. I've heard a couple of different options, that basically, in lieu of being charged fines, you could make a donation to the library that way. I would also like to stipulate, if that's the case, that all donations received as such would, after being approved and accepted by the board, would then be earmarked for the book account and transferred over, as the fines are currently transferred into the book account that we receive.
Thank you for your suggestions. We're certainly going to take that and work on it, okay? Thank you. Any other suggestions or comments at this time? Oh, yes.
Jan McLaughlin, 38 Rainbow Drive, and I'm here as a citizen. I just turned my hat in for a second. I just want to let folks know I spent some time today reading all kinds of things online, which is always a bad thing to do. There was all kinds of erroneous things that seem to be saying about things that other board members and myself supposedly were doing. And I want to say, all of us, as far as I know, and I know for sure myself, I'm here to try and fulfill our requirements that are set aside by the state. And so that's the view that we're looking through. There's a set of requirements that we have for our financial duties to make sure that the library is operating appropriately, and that's what we're doing. Or that's what I at least am trying to have us do. And everybody else can speak to their own thing. So we're not trying to, submarine anybody or ban any books. We've never had a discussion
banning books except for public comment saying we're going to ban books. And I saw that online 3 different places that we were trying to ban books. We never even talked about banning books. So I just want to say that there's a lot of stuff out there that might not be accurate. The other thing is, on my way home today, before I came to this meeting, I love Londonderry because we have nice byways and highways to drive through, and I go through 3 to 4 different apple orchards on the way home and back to here when I come back here. And I only have to say, we need to be careful of the wildlife right now. We have little people, little ducks and things that are coming across the road, and I saw baby goslings today. And I also, unfortunately, tried to stop a car from running over a turtle. Unfortunately, even though I was running toward the car going like this with my flashers on my car, which I had stopped, they still hit the turtle and then went around me, and the turtle was just full of eggs. So we need to be careful. We have Oscar upstairs. He's saying, please, please take care of my friends. We need to be careful. Please. You may not know that there's a marsh, but there are marshes all around Londonderry. We're a very wet community. That's why flax was such a big deal back in the 1700s. So just as a personal aside, please, please be careful of the turtles. You know, they're little. You don't see a big turtle waving their flag, but please slow down enough. And if somebody's running in the road going like this, at least slow down and maybe go around them. Next time I'll leave my door open so the door goes first. But anyway, that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan. Thank you. Anyone else have any public comments right now? Okay, then I guess we're going to go into, on the agenda is new business. Acceptance of unanticipated funds.
You did.
Can we come back to that one?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll come back, sure. Okay, we're going to talk about the update of the director's job description. We have to streamline this tonight because there's just I was overambitious, okay? The director's review does not even become due for like 3 months. So I think we can defer that till next month. And that way everyone will get some input into it and we can work on it then. So that's what if the board is in agreement, that's what I would like to do. Do we need to take anyone want to take a vote on it?
I think you just need consensus.
Okay, well, I'm not sure if I'm getting consensus from the board.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, you're okay. All right, great. Yes.
Can I just hand out my thing real quick?
Yes, yes.
So I would like to hand the board, and I have copies for the public as well. I created a draft for the job description. I was not consulted on this draft that was created by a board member, and I don't know where this information came from, so I don't know which libraries were referenced for it. But I did create a job description based on things that I do and that should be in my job description. I did consult 11 other libraries with their job descriptions, as well as just what I do on a daily basis. So I'd like to pass this out to the board to review for next time.
And that's exactly why I've asked for it to be deferred, so that Erin can put her input into and let us know, what she does, so that we can have an accurate job description.
Liz, can I add that
Yes.
when Kim was here, she reached out to probably close to 10 libraries for their job descriptions and forwarded them to me for the committee review.
Yes.
So I pulled all of those descriptions into one document, and that's what we used to generate our draft.
And absolutely, that's it's a good process. I agree with you.
I'm just letting you know that it wasn't just one person that was working on it,
it's not just one person.
where the information came from. It's not like
and
it
you
was
got
made
information
up.
from other libraries.
Yeah.
I was just afraid that we might be missing vital things that pertains to this library alone. Every library could be unique, and so if we could see what she does, we could actually know that we may need to add some tests.
That's fine. That's
Okay?
fine. Just,
Thank you.
again, just sharing information of where it came from.
No, I'm sure it was well studied, but again, we were missing that one key point. And I think once we do that, we'll be fine, okay? So, we do have a new form, and again, it's the form for yearly performance for the director, okay? And it basically is a very generic form, okay? If we can review it today, or we can defer it till next month's appointment meeting and have all of the director's things done at once. The job description, their review of performance and anything else to do with the director. So I think.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I recommend that we take them up together because it seems like one shouldn't be done without the other. So if we're postponing the one, I would like us to postpone both of them. If you'd like, I can put it as a motion.
Yes, please.
I'd like to move that we take both new business items, the job description and the library director's yearly performance form, and postpone them until next month's meeting of the trustees.
Second.
Okay. Do we need a roll call or do we?
Can you repeat?
Yes, we have discussion right now.
That I'd like to move that we take both the update of the director's job description as well as the library director's yearly performance form and postpone them until next meeting. Let's postpone the discussion until next meeting.
Okay, so just the 2 items?
Just those 2 items.
Who seconded? I'm sorry.
And seconded by Helen.
Oh, thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
So this not the job description, the performance model,
Yep.
this is one we want to use?
It was one that was suggested. It was.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe that Christine did that, right? She
Yeah,
put a
but-
lot of work into that,
but for
looking
her-
for one.
But for her evaluation in September, we're going to use the one that we currently have in place, correct?
We have to.
So
we can't use that one until she's worked 12 months under that
I just
condition.
wanted to make sure.
Yes.
I don't
Does
know
that
that-
make sense to everyone?
I don't know that is accurate. I think that should be part of the discussion when we have a
Okay.
discussion on the full one.
We'll defer this all till next month and have a discussion. Okay. Yes.
I just wanted to ask, are you open to receiving any feedback, comments by email in the meantime?
Yes.
Or would you rather I wait till next month?
No, you want to make, you can send me email.
Okay.
Yeah, if you have, yeah. While we're here, while we're doing this, I think it's really important because there's a question of when we're going to meet in July, okay? Since we're doing all of the director's stuff at our July meeting, Erin is on vacation. So we have a choice. We can move the week by 1 week, our meeting, so that Erin can be there present when that discussion is done. Or we can create a second, we've been having 2 meetings a month lately. We could have a second meeting. But I would think it would be fair to make sure that we do that discussion and all of that while Erin's present. Does anyone have any problem with that?
So I do have dates that the room is available,
Yeah,
if the board would like to vote on changing the July meeting date.
in 1 minute.
Oh, and I'm just trying to remember, I think we didn't book it for the 2nd because of the
Because of the
right?
holiday,
That's
so
why
it
we
was
picked the
moved to
9th.
the 9th.
Okay, I was trying to remember.
Okay, yes.
I don't agree that we should change the meeting because this is an employer-employee relationship, and I think we have to make the decisions on the stuff. We can get the input beforehand, and we can allow for input, but I think that we have to have that discussion ourselves.
Okay, so we would have a couple of amendments, amendments, and we have
So
to
you
vote
don't
on
want to
it.
meet in July, or you do?
We do have to meet in July.
Yes.
Yeah,
But
I'm saying we should leave it as is.
So
Leave the date?
Leave July 9th for the director stuff, and then another meeting later in July for a general meeting? Is that what you're?
Well, if we're going to be discussing her
I would like to
job
be present at
description
that
and
meeting.
her job evaluation, she should absolutely be present, wouldn't you agree?
Do you do it with your boss?
I do.
Well, I don't,
Well, we
and
do.
I don't
So
think that's appropriate.
I
Okay.
think it's very appropriate.
I'm sorry. I want to have a conversation, but I think at this point, we're going to have to look at it. People are going to make an amendment and we're going to vote on it because we have a, because I'm not sure that we're all going to reach the same consensus. So we can start with one amendment. If it doesn't pass, then we go to a second amendment. If it passes, then we're set.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
When are you available in July?
Well, we have dates that the room is available is when I'm available, so I can share those dates.
So are you available on the 9th?
No, I'm not.
You
I'm
are
going
not.
to be away.
Okay. So what other date in July is the room available?
So the room is available on the 1st, the 3rd, 15, 17, 22, 23, and 24. Keep in mind that 3, 17, and 24 is a Thursday, and we close at 5, but we would have the building open for the patrons to come for the meeting if they want to.
Okay. Were any of those days Wednesdays?
The 23rd is a Wednesday.
20, yeah, and that's too late. That's too late in the month. Well, unless we have one meeting on the regular meeting date, but defer we can do that. Why don't we have one meeting on the regular meeting date? Okay, because everyone's used to coming on the first Wednesday of the month.
This would be actually the second because of the holiday.
It's the night. It's called
Yes.
the 9th, the date of the
It's
9th.
the
Sorry.
9th, yeah,
Date
because of the holiday.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first available date. What we could do is, if someone wants to make a motion that we maybe do 2 meetings on the 9th and then the 23rd, and that we defer we're going to vote on that first, okay? And then we're going to vote what meeting we're going to do the librarians. Does that make sense? Yes.
We have a motion already on the floor. I think we could amend it, but I'm not sure. It might be easier to just vote first on whether we're going to move it,
Okay.
and then we can make a separate motion on
Yeah.
what it looks like when we're going to deal with what.
Okay. Okay. What can you repeat?
So the motion is to move both the director's job description and library director's yearly performance form to the next meeting, and that was it, I guess.
Okay.
And that was what-
Could we amend it to a future meeting? And then we can.
I'm fine with future meeting
Okay.
for wording.
Okay, then that's the motion. Does anyone want to make a second to that?
I just want to be clear, if I'm going to second that, I
Yeah.
want to be clear on what I'm seconding.
She seconded it.
Oh, did you already second it? So my discussion would be that we're going to discuss her job description and the new evaluation model on July the 23rd.
And that's going to be your new nomination you're going to make right now.
Well, we have to vote on that one.
Yeah, no, after that, yeah, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All we're saying is that we're moving it. We're not saying
To a
when.
future meeting, yes.
Yeah, okay. Everyone, any more discussion needed for that? Everyone understands? We're just saying we're moving it to a future date. Then there'll be another one that suggests when it's going to be, okay? All right. Roll call?
I, Helen Palmieri.
Jan McLaughlin, aye.
Nancy
Sorry,
Hendricks.
sorry.
Nancy Hendricks. Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Nancy Hendricks, aye.
Laura Ryan, aye.
Christine Fitzgerald, aye.
Okay, motion passes. Okay,
Madam-
do I hear a new motion?
Madam Chair, I would like to make a motion that we discuss the director of the library's job description and the new model for evaluation at the July 23rd meeting.
Second?
Discussion?
Yes.
I'll at least discuss, if not amend, but with the motion, it doesn't preclude us from also having discussions about either of those things. It's just that more that when we would be making a decision, there'd be discussion.
Yes.
So
yeah.
I'm fine with voting for the motion as long as we have the flexibility of also having discussion on the 9th, just not
Okay.
making a decision.
Correct. I'm all good with that.
And I believe we will probably have to look at and see how we're going to meld it on the 9th, and then have a final thing on the 23rd to vote on.
Right, well then we would
We'll
have
need
something
them-
to share
we
with
need
people.
that
and-
as a
yeah.
working, yes, so that's
Okay, that's what I just wanted clarification.
Okay, any more discussion?
I
Yes.
don't know if I can make any of the dates on that week in July, so my preference is July 9th. for the director, since I was the one who worked on both of those.
Okay, so you're not available the 23rd is what you're saying?
I don't think right now, as of right now, I'm not available that whole week.
Yeah,
So then you would vote no.
Correct.
yeah. Okay, I guess we've got the first motion. That we
We
voted?
already did that. We voted on
Okay,
that.
but then on Nancy's, yes, we voted
But
on
you
that.
say
one.
there's also August. I mean, after the 23rd, the next one is August. Well, the next one is August.
But if you're saying that we can discuss it at the 9th as well, then I'd be fine with that.
Okay. That's what I was writing. I wanted clarification on. It doesn't preclude us from having discussions on the 9th.
Yeah,
Just, I think the purpose of the motion is to make sure that there is a time when we're discussing it that Aaron is also present.
correct.
So,
Yes.
And I just want to clarify that it's not going to be we discuss it and then we, read it to her and say, okay, that's what we're ready to vote on. Like, I want to make sure she's like, we're saving time to have that full discussion.
right. Well, we also
Because I
have,
think sometimes things move really fast and we need to
With us? No, they don't.
we also have our comments.
We need to have a working
Yeah.
meeting that's going to complete the documents properly, okay? And then at a different meeting, we're going to vote to accept them.
But have
But
no
we may
discussion.
need to extend that conversation, so we have to plan on taking the
Discussion.
feedback from Erin, because I would assume that there will be feedback.
She'll have from
Yeah.
2 to 4 weeks, okay? It's not gonna, we're either gonna do it if we can't do it on the 23rd, then we'll move it to the first meeting in August. Because the reviews aren't, we're not using it for the review this year. We're not if we're adding anything or changing anything in her job description, okay, it's not gonna affect her September review, because it's a brand new job description that'll go in effect, okay, basically. And so it wouldn't hurt to postpone it till August, just to approve of it, in my opinion. Yes.
Madam Chair, I think that's an opinion.
In my opinion,
I think we have, that's one of the things we're going to have to flesh out
Yeah.
during our discussions as to when things become effective. Because some of the things is just putting in paper what things are already things that Erin does and
Yes.
does well.
Yeah.
But making sure that they're included in the job description.
Yes.
So, and in her evaluation form, because right now it doesn't really reflect what she does.
Yeah.
It's more like list some dates and
Yeah.
and have fun. But and that kind of stuff. But it's a more shallow, and we like to have more of the detail of what Erin actually does reflected in her report. So it really depends on how it is. I think how it comes out at the end as to whether that's what we're going to do with it and when we implement it. But I just think that that's a whole other discussion. But I think that deciding that we can have make sure we have Erin present during the meeting where it's discussed, and not making a decision on the final version before that happens.
And I guess I would like to have Erin and Christine both present, because Christine's putting a lot of work on this.
She's the
And
chair.
Erin needs to be there, okay? So I'm just saying we should pick a date that we're going to vote on it. We can work on it, on other days, but a date that they both present when we're voting on it.
Well, then it seems like, and because we have lots of things we're working on, that if we keep the 23rd only for discussion of these two things, and then vote in August, that might be a happy medium, because then hopefully Christina's back.
Yeah, that should be.
Would you like to make that motion?
I think.
Oh, go ahead,
that's
Nancy.
I was going to move the question.
Yes, okay.
So you
Okay.
call the vote.
Yes, we'll call the vote. I think we'll do a roll call, okay?
Okay, so,
Can you repeat the
Clarify.
motion?
Yes.
so we're meeting on the 9th, like we would normally, but we're also meeting on the 23rd to discuss with specifics about these two things.
The meeting on the 23rd will be
Probably voting
discussion
on
of the review,
August, whatever, 9th or whatever it is.
of the
August
review
6th.
form and the director's job description on the 23rd,
But when she's
Yeah.
present.
when she's present, yeah. And,
Is that a future meeting when she's present?
and then the vote will be the first meeting in August,
Which is the 6th.
which is what you said, which is the 2nd, and that's when Christine and Erin both should be available.
August
Okay?
6th.
Okay.
August 2nd, yeah. Okay?
Okay.
And I think we got a second, right, from Helen?
Yep.
From Nancy. Okay, and we're going to do a roll
Yep.
call.
I, Helen Palmieri.
Jan McLaughlin, aye.
Liz-
She's right next to you.
Liz Thomas, aye.
Hi, Nancy Hendricks.
I'm Beth Marika. I'm Maura Ryan.
Hi, Christine Fitzgerald.
Okay. Motion passes.
And the vote passes. I am so sorry. I think we're all,
Thank you for that accommodation.
you know, I feel good about this. I feel that, you know, we're trying to you know, work together and it's going to, work well. Okay? All right. Now we're actually going to update the personnel policy. Okay? So we'll pull that one out. And there's not going to be a lot of changes, but we're going to go through it.
Christine, this is everything since like January, right? February or whatever it was.
I didn't do the personnel
Oh, I thought she
policy.
did this.
No,
You were a part of the personnel policy.
Well, I know that, but I thought you made the updates.
I didn't.
I pulled out the completed one that we
Okay.
approved.
Okay.
And if anyone had any comments, this is where we should. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So I guess I will start by just saying, I'm going to ask the board, page by page, if they came up with any changes they wanted to suggest before we do a final approval, okay? So,
Can I?
yeah.
So I guess I'm a little confused why this is on the agenda. This was approved at the April 2nd meeting. So I don't know are there changes to the policy?
One of the things I wanted to point out on page 7 was the evaluation conditions and results. That'll need to be updated once we do the job description and the new form, because this references how the compensation is figured out with the new form. So I just want to make sure that all the text and language here is going to match what we're using.
So, okay, I'm sorry, hang on, let's finish that one thought first. Okay, so I understand that they should be the same, okay? And we're saying the new form is going to be for all employees, right, the library?
It can be.
It's a generic,
Right.
Yes, okay, but if there's something, you have to customize it to, like, if it's the director, it's what her
Right. The
activities.
one that I just did was, there was things specific for the director, because I took information from our current form and put that into the new evaluation
Okay.
form.
Yeah.
So it's specific to director.
Maura, you had a...
This pamphlet that I gave out was from the NHLTA conference, which talks about updates that we need to incorporate in our personnel policy, so I've given it to everyone.
Can I get a copy of that, please?
Yes?
Yeah, we'll get you a copy. Yeah. Okay. Well, then, I would say, yes.
I also want to comment, since we're discussing the personnel policy, part of our discussions need to be reflective of coming up with a memorandum of agreement or understanding with the town.
Yeah.
And we have a new town manager that might be able to inform us on some of those things. But we've talked about a number of times during this past year the need to have it spelled out, what the town does, what we do, how we're going to go about doing that, and that's going to have to be reflective in the personnel policy as well as the bylaws. Doesn't mean we can't pass them and then change it, because we can do that.
But it also, it
means-
sounds like we need to do more work on this. Since we're reintroducing this and it needs work, then we need to get the policies for the employees, and how we're doing the merits and stuff, or basically how they're being evaluated. We need to get the MOU, yeah.
Because that may affect employees specifically too.
So I'll be with you in a minute. Okay, Donna. So it sounds like this is also a policy that, we've already approved it once, okay, back in March, but things have changed, in last September, but things have changed. But I think things will change in the next 2 months with the business that we're doing with it. So I think maybe we should defer this along with the others, and it really ties into the other ones that we're doing.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we postpone this to a future meeting after we have discussed with the town or formalized with the town a memorandum of understanding, as well as formalized our review process for the director and possibly other employees.
Yeah, I can do a draft for the other employees as well and get that up before the next meeting.
That'd be great. You would have an opportunity to do that then. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Oh, wait, no discussion.
You have discussion on this?
Yeah, I had my hand up.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I just wanted to add as well that something that had been discussed recently after the insurance change was considering the educational incentive being increased that you were going to come back to.
Yes, so that'll be more discussion now.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yes,
Can I request that all the trustees come with actual specific revisions? And that when we go to discuss this,
yeah. I know I have a whole list of revisions actually right now, but now as things are changing,
Well,
I will.
and
Yes,
that's why I'm confused, because we just voted on this in April. It pops up on the agenda again but then some people know things and are bringing things. Is there any way we could delineate that better so we understand why we're discussing it again? Because otherwise it's a mystery.
I just said why I was changing it.
Right, no, but it pops up and I'm like, okay, well, I don't know why. And then Moira had this to hand out. Maybe we could say to include new information from NHLTA meeting, something along those lines. Otherwise, it is a mystery to us why we're talking about this. And we're back to the same problem we talked about before, that people can't come prepared because we aren't know what we're talking about.
so we will attempt to have, to make it more descriptive.
Okay, I think that would be helpful because
Yes,
otherwise I'm not sure.
just instead of
Okay.
personnel policy,
Right.
due to, updates from NHLT type of thing.
Okay.
Okay?
That would be helpful.
Yes, Maura?
So I didn't know why this was on the agenda. I just brought that because I had just recently attended the conference. So it's not really related to this.
Mystery to you too then.
Which is great because it ties into it though. It's not related, it ties into it, okay? And Christine has a good point. We need to review, make the changes, then we go page by page. Does everyone have a change on page one or a suggestion, that type of thing? Rather than, we can't just sit and read the whole thing in,
Right.
one night.
Can we pick a date that we're actually going to do this?
Yes.
I'd like to say August because I feel like we have other stuff going on in July.
Okay.
July 23rd, we're going to be approving all the other stuff. So then it's first week of August, so it's first, yeah. Yes, Maura?
So I would like to make a motion that we have revisions sent to Christine for updating by June 25th,
Okay.
For which document?
2025, for
So-
the personnel policy.
I didn't do the personnel policy.
But you opened it, so.
Oh, that's what, well, someone
She's
needs to
just following.
send me the Word file then, because I don't
Yeah.
have I'm not retyping this whole thing.
Whoever's got
I
the
already
word
did
file.
one.
I don't think we typically add revisions to things though before we discuss them. So I'm not sure I feel comfortable sending different ideas that we dump into a document and then come back and talk about. That just feels out of order to me.
But,
Okay, 1 minute, we got one motion up. Go ahead.
just discussion.
Discussion, yeah.
You can have a document, whether it be in Word or Google Docs or Teams or any of those. If you have a document that is in process, you can have it show the comments, and it would say NH for Nancy Hendricks.
But you can't
This is
specifically,
No, that's an illegal meeting.
because everybody's contributing to a document.
we're all contributing to it independently, not
But
together.
It's all collective document, where we can all read each other's thoughts and comments, and you can't do it.
Well, I'm not sure, since I know that they use a variety of other things within state government. and it's okay in other areas. So I'm not sure that because if I send comments to whoever's collecting the comments, I'm sending comments. Now, what I'm saying, as far as we don't have to be here and have a 10-minute discussion on page 3, paragraph 2, if we all have sent nothing for comments in about that paragraph. So my feeling is that if we use technology, we certainly could at least come up with a draft with all the comments and have that presented to the public before a meeting and before there's discussion that happens in place. And if perhaps one of the folks from one of the other boards, or perhaps
Sean, do you have a take on this?
Yes, actually,
Thank
that
you.
would be considered a serial email, and that would be illegal under RSA 91A. So the way you would do that is you would make your comments perhaps to the director, and she would put all those together and then provide a draft at the board meeting so it's publicly released, because otherwise that would be considered a violation of law, unfortunately.
Okay.
I understand, and people actually do that, and their intent is not to violate the law. It's trying to work together to get something done, and it is the easiest way to do it, but it does violate RSA 91.
so it doesn't if we send it to someone who then consolidates it.
A staff person, not somebody on the board. So that's
staff
how you break that, is by you send your information to her, you send your information to her, she puts it together, and then she puts it out on the agenda. All the public gets to see it at the same time. Otherwise, we're doing business outside of the view of the public. That's why. What you're talking about makes a whole lot of sense because it's easy to get things done.
Right.
But unfortunately, we can't do that because it would violate the law.
Not within the board.
Right, because you
Yeah.
can't. What'll happen is it'll be more than a quorum of the board passing on information. It's like a serial email that's going around, and it would violate that. It's doing business outside of the view of the public.
Okay, and the one thing I do want to make clear to everyone, I like that suggestion. This sounds like that's the way we should be going legally. I want to make it clear because people have criticized us constantly for letting the staff write the policy. Okay?
Oh, sure, no, they
And
just
so
take the
they're not
policy.
going to be writing the policy.
Right.
They're just gathering the changes to put forth to everyone.
Right, then you'll have the different versions and then the comments and
Exactly.
placed, and that's how you
Are you comfortable doing that, Erin?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Okay, I think, do we have any more discussion on that?
So, can we pick a date on when we'll get all of our suggestions to Erin by before the August 6th meeting?
And then you need at least maybe 2 weeks to
Not her.
or after that, right, to work with it. Because she's going to get them all together and,
No,
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna get it all, from what I understand, I'm
oh
gonna get all
yeah, you
this.
are. Okay, so you don't have to do anything with it then?
No, we just need to
Yeah,
get,
that's good.
everyone needs to get our comments to
Okay.
Erin.
Yes.
But let's pick a specific date that everyone will do that.
Well,
Let's
I guess
have
my next, when are we discussing this? At what
I
meeting?
thought we were doing August 6th.
At the August 6th meeting?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, yes, okay. So you need, what, 2 weeks, back up 2 weeks from August 6th? Is 2 weeks enough for you?
Well, I would like, to put, I don't know what kind of suggestions I'll be getting, so I'm hoping that will be enough time, but, if people could get me their suggestions as soon as possible, and then this way I can get the document available to share with you guys in order to review before the meeting.
What date do you leave for your vacation so we can make sure? it gets
I'm
to you
away
before
from
you-
vacation the first week of July.
Okay, so
the-
before July 1st?
The second week, 7 to 11.
Okay, so before that date, the 7th of July, would that make?
Yeah, and
that
then
give you extra time, because then you could, before you go away, you can just give it to somebody to update it, or?
no, I would
You still
update it and then share it with the board. But you can do it. That week or while I'm away. If you want to send it all to me, and then I'll do it when I get back. That should still give enough time. It's still like 3 weeks, right, to review it before the meeting. So I would say get everything to me before the 11th. Does that work for everybody?
I think that's reasonable.
Can we get a motion?
Wait a minute, I think she made a motion.
Oh.
I don't, for information to get to her by the 25th of June,
No.
is that what you said?
Yes.
And I don't recall, did anyone second that?
Okay, but was that the motion to get it to Christine, the information?
It doesn't matter, it was a motion.
Okay.
It was not seconded.
It was not seconded.
Could you clarify that?
I would say that we have to get I think we should get our information in sooner rather than later, and I would say we should get it in by June 25th. So my motion is to get information and comments in by June 25th.
To Aaron.
To whoever is taking the reins. It was a subcommittee, so the subcommittee chair was managing all that, but I believe, I don't remember who the chair was.
I'll second the 25th.
Okay, I'm sorry, yes.
You have another motion on the table that wasn't voted on. Jan made a motion to postpone discussing the personnel policy to a future meeting. I believe you discussed that being the August meeting, and Maura seconded, but there was no vote.
I thought we did vote on that.
I did not record a vote.
I thought we had a roll call, huh?
I thought we did.
Vote on it again?
We can vote on it
Yeah,
again.
well, since this is the question, let's vote on it again. Everyone knows what we're voting on right now?
Can you just clarify it?
Yes.
That we're moving the discussion of the personnel policy to August 6th, the August 6th meeting.
Yes.
Personnel policy and the document.
The personnel policy document.
I'm sorry, personnel policies, never mind,
Two
sorry.
different sets of documents.
I know,
Yeah.
sorry, I'm confused.
Just the personnel.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So it'll be on the August 6th agenda,
Yes,
the personnel policy.
and we'll be getting all the information to you by,
Well, no, we have to, that's the second one.
Let's start with
Okay,
this. So
okay.
we're gonna, that this is gonna go to the, I'm sorry, I have written all over mine, that's me. That the personnel policy is going to go to the August 6th agenda.
yes.
I'll second. If no one knows
Christine
yet.
seconds, roll call.
I, Helen Palmieri.
I, Jan McLaughlin.
I, Liz Thomas.
I, Nancy Henry.
I got her.
I'm Maura Ryan.
Christine Fitzgerald.
Okay.
And then you were trying to make a motion.
So my motion is that we get our revisions and comments into the designated person by June 25th. We did have a subcommittee on that, but I believe because it had other prior board members, that one of them was the chair. So we may need to regroup the committee also.
For what it's worth, I can't get stuff done by the 25th. I'm a teacher. It's the end of the school year, and I leave on vacation June 18th, so I won't be able to have information until after that.
Erin?
I do think the reason that subcommittee was created was because the entire personnel policy was being revised, because we did not have an electronic version. So I don't know if it needs to be created for these changes. But certainly the board, I believe that was the original intent of the subcommittee, and I believe it was Kim was the chair.
You have to put this back in my other minutes.
I think Tim was the chair. Okay. So if the 25th doesn't work for you, ma'am, do you have
I'll just say, right.
Do you have a recommendation? Do you want to stay with?
We should vote on that first and then get into a different.
Okay. Well,
Doesn't have to be that complicated.
okay. Go
Is
ahead.
there a second? I didn't record.
I did.
Christian, thank you.
Okay, roll
Yeah.
call.
So, no, Helen Palmieri.
Yes, Jan McLaughlin.
Yes, Liz Thomas.
No, Nancy Hendricks.
No.
Yes, Maura Ryan.
Yes, Christine Fitzgerald.
I'm sorry, I lost count.
It's 4-3.
So it's June 20th.
Four-
So it's June
four yes.
25th.
Okay, so that does carry. Again, you'll just have to, I'm sure that Erin's going to get them all at
Just
once.
sharing my information.
And she's going to take a week or two to do it, so whenever you can get it in, you get it in. Doesn't that make sense?
I mean,
That way-
if you said that we just approved it and you didn't have any issues, then it shouldn't be an issue to
Hopefully.
not give any information.
Well,
on
I'm
the
just
25th.
concerned if people are giving lots of changes and feedback, that I make sure I give information that might be necessary. That's all.
Yeah.
I don't want to feel, this is my worst time of year to ask me to try to figure this stuff out. So I am confused why we're making more radical changes, but if I want to make sure I'm doing my due diligence to do that, so
No,
I'll do that.
Yeah, and I think that, I mean, Erin's not gonna do all of us in 1 week anyway, so,
Yeah.
you know, so
fine.
she's gonna, you know, have enough.
Squeeze
to
me in,
go.
she can squeeze me in.
Okay. I think we're going back to the agenda, right? Okay. We are now looking at the Johnson Controls. Erin?
Yep, sure. So we had Johnson Controls here doing emergency light inspection, and they did have some lights, as mentioned in this document, for replacing defective ceiling mounted light, and then expired batteries in 2 other lights. And the quote that they are giving is $1,068.68. And I'm bringing that to the board.
Okay.
Yes.
I make a motion that we approve the quote from Johnson Controls.
Second.
Roll call? Or do you want to just everyone agree to it? Any questions, any
Yeah.
discussion?
No.
Okay.
I, Helen Palmieri.
I, Jen Bluffton.
Liz Thomas.
I, Nancy Hendricks.
I'm Maura Ryan.
Hi, Christine Fitzgerald.
Okay.
Thank you.
And the next thing is the review timeline of vendors' contracts, okay? This was first discussed at a previous meeting, and basically, it's not micromanaging, but what we're doing is we're responsible to look at contracts, okay? And so my suggestion might be that we see, if we know that Erin knows when her contracts are due, if we look at like a contract that's not going to be due for like 2 months in advance, okay? That gives us all that time to look at it and approve of it. And it's kind of like, you know, it's just trying to follow the RSAs is what it's doing, okay? And so, Erin, you might have some suggestions that you would think might.
Well, I guess part of me has clarification. Is the intent to review all contracts or any new contracts? I don't know what the board decided, so I didn't know
I
if
thought we
that.
discussed this a few times, that it was all contracts.
Yeah. I
All
believe
contracts? Okay.
That was the consensus last time, yes, yeah.
Okay, so I am working on getting all the dates for the contracts. I've reached out to a number of vendors. The challenge I have is that there are some contracts coming up for renewal, but you won't have them in the 2-month time that was decided, which I believe is now in the bylaws, which have not been approved. So I'm wondering if the board would entertain for me to start this, bringing the contracts to the board in January, giving me time to put all the dates in place. We've created a spreadsheet. I'm working on getting information back from vendors and then presenting any contracts starting next year.
Jen?
Since our new fiscal year begins July 1, I think that we should try as much as possible to begin the new procedure, a new process that we're not currently using that perhaps we should be using as soon as we can. If that means that there are certain ones that we have to circle around back to or view again, I think that's preferable, in my opinion, to waiting until January, because that's 6 more months of contracts that have not gone through any kind of vetting on the financial side of things. So, which is required by state law.
Christine?
I agree. I think we should see the contracts. I mean, if you have, if you need little extra time to create the list of everything for the entire year, I think we can, wait a month or 2 for that. But I don't think we should wait till January. Like Jan mentioned, we have, our new fiscal year starts, and we should be reviewing all contracts regardless. So I'd still like to see them in advance.
I'm going to recognize Donna, but I do have to mention that if it's a point of noting some information, that's good. But if it's a personal opinion of how we should handle it, it would only be the board that would speak on that. Does that make sense to you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I would recognize you.
Okay. I just have a question. If you want to start in July, but you want the 2 months in advance, we would be giving you contracts for September at that point. Because if we bring you contracts for July, there's no time for you to ask for more quotes. You could even be looking at a gap in service. So that's my concern. Like, you have to give us time to catch up to the 2 months in advance thing.
We can
Comment?
Sorry.
More?
So my understanding of what Christine is saying is that if you need to create a spreadsheet, you would get the 2 month time period, but the contract should start immediately. The contract review.
We've been talking about that for a while now.
You said you wanted to see them 2 months in advance, that you have time to allow for more quotes if you want, or to consider canceling, whatever you're going to do. So for us to bring you July contracts in July, I don't even know if there are any July contracts in July, but there's no time for that. Because if you want more quotes at that point, you're looking at a gap in service where the library is not covered.
Yes.
Madam Chair, and Donna, I understand what you're saying, but part of the discussion, I think there's 2 parts to this discussion. One part is upcoming contracts that we can have, we'd like some purview into the contract before it's renewed. And for the contracts that are too close in time period, we still want to see the contracts, because at this point in time we haven't. So that's one of the reasons that we've talked about some kind of a spreadsheet or some kind of a paper calendar that says these are the contracts for this month and these are the contracts, so that, because they come in a cycle. Here's this one happens, whatever, in September there's these 3 contracts or 8 contracts or whatever, so that there's a way of at least we can look at it and say, we need to be thinking about Johnson Controls or whatever, heating oil or whatever.
Mm-hmm. My question is, does that mean that we bring you we can renew the contracts and bring you the contract to look at and have and whatever, but in July we're bringing you the ones to decide on for September renewals?
No.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Okay. Let me try to clarify this, okay? We're really trying to meet the intent of the law, okay? The intent of the law is that you don't sign a contract or until we've reviewed it, okay? We have, at this point, I can't anticipate that there would probably be many, if any, contracts that we're going to ask you to go out and try to get better quotes. You guys have already been doing that. You've been doing competitive pricing and stuff, okay? All we're saying is, we by law are supposed to see the contract before you sign it. That's all we're saying. We're not going to question, can you go try to get a better deal somewhere else? That's not what we're looking to do. We're looking for you to say, these are the contracts that we're going to be signing in the next month.
Okay.
And
So you don't want the 2
know where
months.
the money flow is going. You know what I mean? Go ahead.
I think that the 2 month time period we've had a discussion. The 2 month time frame has come up because we've talked about, what about upcoming contracts? We need at least 2 months ahead, and I think that's an adequate amount of time. Perhaps you need more for certain contracts, depending upon how hard it is to find other contractors if you need to do that. But I think the first order of business needs that we need to see the contracts, because right now we don't see any of them.
Right.
And second is that we need to come up with a process, and perhaps it's through the MOU. Part of it might be through the MOU with the town, because some of the contracts may involve the town side of things. Who knows? But some of those things, we may have to have more of a flexibility this first year as we're trying to get the process in that we're supposed to have by the RSAs.
Done.
I think Beth was before me.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Beth.
Sorry. I think, and please tell me if I'm not interpreting this right, we have talked about the 2 months so that we can, if necessary, ask for additional information. I think, though, what Donna is asking, if they come to us next month and say, these are the 3 contracts that we have that are expiring in July or August or whatever, that we might possibly, because I think that we have maybe presented that reason for concern in the past, we might tell them, okay, but we're not comfortable with renewing those, so please don't renew them until we've had time to discuss them, or for us to get more time to find more quotes. We don't want to have that gap in services where maybe there is no, I don't know, but like maybe they don't have a paper supplier because, someone said, oh, well, don't renew that July contract because I think I know a guy, or there is that worry, what if we have no paper? And we have to provide library services. So I think that is, and I don't know if I'm interpreting it right, but I mean, that is my concern.
Proceed.
So can you find out if there's any contracts that are due in July? Email the board, and then we'll decide if we need to make an emergency meeting to discuss them. I mean, because I thought we discussed having the documents emailed 2 months in advance, and yes, the September ones will be reviewed in July, but if there's any, in July or August, we'd like to see those as soon as possible. We know that it won't meet the 2 months at this point, but we would still like to see them regardless as soon as possible.
If we can start the process, like I said, I think you're over-anticipating the delays and stuff. I think it's basically, we just say, we're supposed to read them, we're gonna read them, unless you tell us that this vendor's not working and we need a new vendor because they're not doing their job. If they have been, the vendor has been working and doing well, and, again, you've brought us 2 and 3 quotes for cleaning the carpets, okay? And we picked one, and we try to pick, the most cost-effective one anyway. So I'm assuming that most of your quotes are going to be the most cost-effective ones anyway. It's again, the process is get them, 2 months in advance if you can. Just say, we're going to be reviewing these contracts. We just look at them and say, okay, and we can check that off. Yes,
Well, the whole reason the 2 months came up was to email them out to the board, so all the board members can look at it on their own time, so they can review it. If they have any questions, they can be brought up at the next meeting. But the 2 months should give everyone plenty of time to be able to review it, and then that way we don't have to spend 20, 30 minutes at the actual meeting talking about the contract or trying to read it at that meeting. Because a lot of our meetings was, I need a decision right now on this, and we haven't had the appropriate time. And that way everyone gets it 2 months in advance, and if they don't read it from their emails, then that's on them. Am I correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, hang on. Go ahead.
So, and I'm fine with that. I think that we also need, as part of that though, we need some kind of a calendar or something.
Right.
Even
Yes.
if it's written as we go along this first year.
Yeah.
That, so we know what's coming up.
Right.
And so we know what to anticipate.
It may
Because
not-
then we can ask questions about, or look at the carpeting and say, gee, the carpeting's still dirty and they had that cleaned. Maybe that wasn't the best decision we made, or whatever.
Right, no, I agree, and I think that's, Donna said, or Erin said, that they wouldn't be able to get that list of contracts to us for July, so, which is fine. I mean, we can
As we're
put that
going,
off
we
for,
can
you
start.
know what I mean, a couple months or whatever. But we should still be getting them regardless.
So by June,
Yeah.
you should know what July's contracts are due,
This is June.
Huh?
This is June.
I
Yeah.
think she's speaking in hypothetical.
Well, so you should have an idea of what you're going to have to sign on in July, I would think, no?
Well, I'm working on getting this, yeah.
Yeah.
Not everybody's
yeah.
gotten
So
that.
you just, you just let the board know at that point, okay? The thing is that, and as we go along, it's going to take us 12 months to create a calendar now we know in the future what's due, type of thing. And I understand it's extra work, but again, it's, trying to meet an obligation, an RSA. Donna?
Okay, so my question is coming from a point of clarity in what your expectation is, especially because Aaron will not be at your regular meeting in July.
Yeah.
So I am the one bringing you information. So it sounds like what you want on the July 9th meeting is you want contracts for July, August, and September. Is that correct?
No. So if you have ones that are due in July,
Yes.
if you could email those to us as soon as possible so we can
Yeah.
look at those ahead of time, so we're not looking at them at the July meeting and being forced to make a decision on the spot. So
Okay.
if you email everything that's due in July and August tomorrow, or at a minimum July, if you email us everything tomorrow, then that'll give us a few weeks to review it for the July meeting.
And we don't even have vendor contracts from everyone. So there's no way I'm going to
Well,
have
no,
it for
you
tomorrow.
can only
Right.
send us
Yeah.
what you
Yeah.
have, the ones that
Okay.
you have. Now,
So we are
I'll be
talking
right
July
back.
and August.
July and August.
You said July and
Vendor.
August, right?
Well, just because that would
Okay.
be part of the.
And are those going on?
And that would be September too, because the
July,
September
August,
would
September.
be 2 months
Which is what I
prior.
asked, but then there was a no. So it's 3 months worth of contracts, correct?
Is what you're asking for.
Yes.
Okay. And are they all going to be attached to the agenda?
They probably should
I
be
think
for the
so.
public,
That-
yeah.
Because we have to
Yeah.
approve it.
Yeah,
And the public has.
The thing I'm concerned about, I don't know if there's any concern, I'm not a lawyer, any concern legally where we would be like eliminating competition for our vendors by
Because we're
posting them
posting the
publicly.
cost.
Would you perhaps, Sean, some
Sean, do you have any comments on that?
It depends on how you use the process. If you have a sealed bid process, obviously, when you open those sealed bids, you do that in here. Normally, there's some process by which you do that. But if you're just getting 3 quotes from folks, there's no reason why that information would not be public. You would probably put that in your packet, because that way you can debate it. These folks can provide comment to you during the 5-minute period that they have to say, look, I have some questions about that. I have some feedback. I have some suggestions to you on those.
Joe's
So-
Painting Supply happens to
So-
be in town, they could perhaps come into the meeting and say, hey, I've got my
Sure,
paintbrushes.
sure.
So from what I'm understanding from the board, just to clarify, is we're only presenting them with contracts that we currently have that are up for renewal. So we wouldn't have those 3 quotes. We would only have the one contract.
Yeah, I just gave you an
Yeah.
example of
Okay, okay.
if you did
Just
3
what's-
quotes.
yeah.
I don't know what your purchasing policy is. I've only been on the job for
have-
3 days. I don't even know what the towns is yet. So I mean,
Yeah.
I'd have to learn that.
But yeah, we're just looking
get up to speed.
I'm trying to.
Okay.
But new contracts, obviously, we would get as
Yes.
well.
Yeah.
We're talking
I've done
about,
that.
getting
Yeah.
the rest of the process going on the rest of the contract.
Okay, and our anticipation is that you're going to send them to us, we're going to review them. Hopefully, we don't have to print them off, because some of them
Some of them are quite lengthy.
Yeah, they're lengthy and it's expensive.
Tonight's packets were over 3 reams of paper, which
Yeah,
tonight's meeting.
so the thing is, I don't think
Office
that
supplies.
contracts, that we should have to print off a 20 or 30-page contract. If we read it online.
But keep in mind, if it's in the agenda, I have to provide copies for the public, and it will be in your packet.
Okay.
So it will be printed off. So,
Well, like tonight's example would be not Johnson Controls tonight.
Yeah,
Although the Johnson Control thing really was the first 3 pages of that, the next 6 or 7 pages was all the gobbledygook or gaff package information that Johnson Controls includes with every contract. And I don't know that we need that. Well, we certainly need the details of the contract for that thing.
and I'm going to speak for Erin. If it's part of the contract, if she leaves anything out, she's going to be held liable. So she's going to send it off.
Okay.
Well, no, yeah, she'll email the whole thing, but
Yeah.
I think Jen was referring to about printing out
Right,
for the
there's-
public.
there's,
Just print out
7 more pages we didn't
pertinent-
have to
yeah,
print out.
Yeah, I agree.
well,
You're not comfortable with that?
Well,
can tell.
I just know it's going to be on me that I'm going to be the one in trouble because the public is going to be expecting to see all information, and now it looks like we're hiding something, and then that comes back to me. That's how
Should we be
it's.
posting all of these online as well?
They are posted
Yeah, they're
online,
going-
but then we're
so-
expected to provide copies to the public. Is my understanding. The whole agenda is online, but we still are expected to provide copies to the public. So the expectation is what's online will be available for the public.
I just wanted to make like a blanket statement that I
Yeah.
hope we as a board can show grace in this process.
Yes,
As we
of course.
move into it,
Yes.
as we work at the changes, whether Erin is here, whether Donna is giving us the information, whether things are being emailed, that we don't nitpick and go after people over the next 3 months, that we work through the hiccups, and I'm sure we can make this process work.
That's good.
And
good
again,
point.
I want to
Thank you for
mention
saying
that we are adding load to their work that we need to realize, but we need to see the and to me, I'm happy to just read it online type of thing. So I guess if you posted it publicly, that people could read it online, right?
But you also have
Do you have to have it all on paper for everyone? Yeah. Donna?
With this volume in mind for July, are you okay with me asking another staff member to accompany me to the meeting?
I'm sorry.
With this volume of information in mind for the July 9th meeting, are you okay with me asking another staff member to assist me at that meeting?
Oh,
Like a second
yeah.
person?
You want to have Megan or someone come with you because there's so much
Yes.
to deal with
Yes.
on that one meeting. Does it? I don't have. Anyone have a problem with that?
That's fine. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I will do my best to get as much as I can to you guys regarding the
Okay.
contract.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Liz?
Okay. Yes. I'm sorry, Maura.
No worries. I know we're in new business right now on the agenda, and I know some things came up in the public comment about the bank account, and I actually think that we should discuss the bank account issue because I think that is important.
I agree, but I think it has to be on the agenda.
Well, I don't think it has to be on the
I
agenda,
think it has to be on the
and
agenda.
I think it's emergent.
Well, there's a treasurer's report.
It's on the
under
agenda.
Other, under
yeah,
other
as part of the
business.
treasurer's report.
And also, it was called in as being, it was requested to be on the agenda, financial information for tonight, and it somehow it didn't make it into the agenda. So,
Because I put it under the treasurer's report.
but it's certainly could be as answering, making, responding to the comment that was made in public comment. I'd be happy to do that, and about the bank account in particular, the bank accounts in particular.
But my point is that if we have discussion about, going to a new bank, that has to be on the agenda. That's a public comment, it's public discussion.
I think that we can do business based on how we have to do business, but I think that the agenda this time looks even more interesting than the ones we've had in the past. Before, there's been an other line where people could suggest or add additional things in, because usually members are asked if there's anything else they have to
Yeah, I
add.
don't see
and
why
go
we
into
wouldn't
this
be able
line.
to put it under other.
But this other's all fleshed out with all the reports. So, I don't know how this changed. But anyway, I'm just saying I would be happy to respond in light of Maura's comment. I would be happy to respond to the questions that were asked in public comment, if that's what you'd like to have me do. If we'd like to discuss it a little bit further into the old business. I know last meeting, we began reviewing the finances, but we only went to about this far in that. And so we never finished that discussion. And we certainly have discussions to have because of the end of the fiscal year and the beginning of the next fiscal year.
I thought, with my understanding, we could discuss things but we can't vote on things that are on the agenda. So could we wait till Jan's treasurer report and return to the financial? Maybe we could get through some of this approving of minutes and stuff, kind of check off a few things off the list, and then get to Jan.
Maura, I'll be right with you. Yeah, Maura.
I think that if what was said was true, and checks have been written and they're not checking against the signature card, that's an extremely huge liability. I have a very big problem with that. I am not comfortable with that, and I would say that we have to have an emergency meeting.
Well, I think the big word that you just used there, or words, is if that's true. So do we know if that's true?
It is true.
Okay.
I've been writing checks now since April of last year on the book account as well as the trustee account, and I am still not on the book account. So, and that's $90,000 worth of checks that have been written this year alone, just in that one account.
Ellen?
I would like to participate in this conversation because my name was mentioned. I did receive a call from the bank, and I spoke to, I believe her name was Janine, I think I'm saying that right. She let me know that Jan had stopped by and asked about some of the accounts. I said, okay, we need to update the names on the accounts. Yes, I did it. Yes, I submitted it. That is what I have done in the past. That's to my understanding, that was the procedure. I reached out to the bank. I got the appropriate form. I have everybody's signatures ready to submit. Yes, my name is on the account, and to the understanding of the letter that I had sent to the bank, my name is on the account, and it specifically says that I do not sign checks. The only reason my name has been on the account was in our previous board. We had 2 board members that were very elderly, and there was a concern that if something were to happen to them, we would not have access to that account. I have never written a check. I have never signed a check. Everything has been signed by the treasurer or the chair or whoever names are on this account. Yeah. So yes, and to truth be told, Jan's name was on the treasurer's account, and it was not on the bank account because my fault. I will take full responsibility for this. When I submitted these, I was under the understanding that it was for both accounts that the change was for. That was incorrect. I am correcting it now by having both account numbers here. I will be submitting this by email to change that Jan, Helen, and Liz, and me, and not as a signer, will be on those accounts so that those checks can be signed appropriately. It usually, the last time I've done it, it's taken probably, I'd say, 48 hours to make that change. So that's the information that I have. Okay. And when it comes to super user, I did ask the bank about that as well. The only time super user is used is when you have an online account and you have access to online, and the person who logs into that account is the super user. So the person who has that login information would be the super user. Super user is not related to this particular instance. That's what I was told by the bank.
Okay.
I think, Beth, did you have your hand up before?
I just want to remind us not to move forward to old business until we take care of the first thing on the agenda, which is the unanticipated funds.
Yes, I have that.
Okay.
Thank you,
Laura.
This has nothing to do, I feel like if we have a bank that is not checking the signatory, that is not appropriate. And that is a liability. And I am not comfortable with that at all.
We definitely, absolutely need to discuss that tonight, and we need to resolve it tonight, okay? But basically, we're up to old business, right?
Well,
And
We still have the unanticipated.
I'm sorry, yeah.
Do you want me to do that real quick?
That's quick. Huh?
Do you want me to do that real quick for you? The unanticipated funds?
Yeah, let's do that really quick to get that, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
So the unanticipated funds for June 4th is we received $20 from Amy Wallace for summer reading programs. We received $30 from Hannaford's Community Bag Program. For Children's Summer Reading Program prize donations, we received 200 complimentary kids' meals coupons from Great New Hampshire Restaurants, which is T-Bones and Cactus Jack's. We also received 300 coupons for 1 free ice cream cone from McDonald's. For the Young Adult Summer Reading Program donations, we received 1 Extreme Craze gift certificate for 1 session of laser tag or inflatable park for up to 5 people. That's a $100 value. We also received 4 coupons for 1 free game or mini golf from Mel's Funway Park, a $52 value, and also 13 assorted board games from Tabletop Tycoon, approximately $500 value. We also received for the Adult Summer Reading Program prize donation a $25 gift card from Pasquale's Restaurant. I just need the board to vote to accept these donations.
Yes.
Madam Chair, I would like to make a motion that we accept the unanticipated funds that Aaron has just presented under RSA 202-A:4-C and RSA 202-A:4-D.
Discussion?
Yes.
I have no problem with us voting that. I just want us to make sure that these begin to be recorded physically in a document, because we do have to report this information about the donations to the Secretary of State's office, and so that's an important piece that we all are in not non-compliance, but we have not submitted yet that kind of detail that we need. So I'd just like to reiterate that we need to deal with the process. We need to set up the process and deal with the process for all donations and money that's involved.
Are you just asking for them to be recorded, or also asking for them to be documented how and when they're used?
Yes. So is the answer, because in the previous time when we've discussed this 3 meetings ago, a form was presented, and as far as this is the detail that we need in order to meet with the requirements that were given to Maura when she spoke to them at the Secretary of State's office. And Maura and I sat here for like 4 hours one day and went through the different donation books that were here to find the donations for the past year and to kind of catalog those and to come up with the information that we had, and we realized that we were missing some. So part of it was when it was donated and when they're used, because some money gets put into the account of the trustees account. We need to say, oh, there was $200 that was donated for a program, so we need to make sure it gets paid, it gets spent for programs versus gets spent for the picnic table, because that's not a program, that's a thing. So we need to be able to capture that information, and we can't right now because of the way that things are deposited into that account, because they're grouped together. And then, of course, the cards are donated for a specific program. So we could know that on September 10th, all the cards were distributed to kids, were distributed to kids as prizes, or whatever the date is. So that could be then recorded, so we know those were donated. We got 25 cards in, and we gave 25 cards out. So we can show that whatever we got in went back out, and that there's no funny business. We didn't, they didn't go out to lunch to Cactus Jack's or whatever, and we didn't either. So anyway, that's the thing.
Megan, I'm sorry, you were first.
Donna.
Donna, yeah, I'm sorry.
I just had another thing to add about the documenting. So Beth Hangeli, your recording secretary, noted for the last set of minutes, because we had a long list of unanticipated funds.
Yes.
She asked if the list could be something that we would add as an addendum to the minutes instead of her putting them in the minutes. So that is up to you to decide if you want her to continue to do that and us be responsible for attaching them to the minutes, or if you want them written in.
I could go either way as far as I'm concerned, but the reality is that we still need that separate document that documents the more details than what we actually get at this meeting. Because at this meeting we're just given, here's the stuff we got.
Just looking for information.
But the other detail we still need to gather for all of the things that are donated to the library, and how they're utilized.
Okay, so this paperwork, this form that, go ahead, Evan.
So I've already started creating that document. I'm going to be backtracking that information as best as I can. I don't have the information here with me because we were discussing this, but I did reach out to the Attorney General's office, and I was told that the information that I had sent to her, which is the annual report for the trustees, was sufficient enough for what they needed. I'm still fine tracking it, because I agree with you, Jan, that we should be keeping an eye, because all the money in that account right now, I think it's been since 2020, and I can double check on this. There's been donations to that account that are supposed to be earmarked for book collections or whatever have you that have not been moved. So we need to take a look at that. But so I do agree that we need to track that so we can make sure that those donations are being used what that intended patron wanted to donate for. But when it comes to the Attorney General's office, I did get an email back from the lady, and I apologize, I don't remember her name because I don't have my info with me, but she was, the information that I provided with her regarding the annual report for the trustees, she explained that it was sufficient enough for what they needed, and she actually would prefer not to have a detailed report.
Jen?
Just a point of clarification. I would like us not to refer to anything as a treasurer's report or a treasurer's report of the trustee unless the treasurer of the trustees has created it and or, preferably and or, but at least and or, signed off on it prior to being presented. Because currently we are getting things that are, in the past they've always been called treasurer's reports, but the treasurer never sees it until we see it. I might get it if I pick up the stuff a week ahead, I might see it a week ahead, but it's not the treasurer's report because it's not created by the treasurer. So there's some other process that creates it, and that's fine, but we should not be calling it the treasurer's report if the treasurer is not involved with creating it. That's all. Clarification.
So I oversee the staff member who creates the treasurer's report, and she sends you an email whenever it's created, and it's intended for you to review it and double check it before it goes to the meeting. And I believe Aaron sends you an email whenever that's left in your mailbox. I don't know if you attach it as well, Aaron, but
I do not attach it. For example, on May 15th, I sent you an email of what items have been put in your mailbox and the April 2025 folder, and that includes the April deposit slips, April check register, April reconciliation, book account bank statement, and trustee account bank statement. In addition, on April 16th, prior to that, I did send you also an email that was put in your mailbox, and that did include the treasurer's report for January through March. So you did have that on April 16th.
Okay. But I still say it shouldn't be called the treasurer's report because it's not the treasurer's report. It's
Helen?
I just wanted to circle back.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No. I was just going to say maybe we could just vote on accepting the funds.
Yeah.
Just before and then I don't know if Maura needs to.
Well, let's call the question.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So it was motioned and seconded. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I, Helen Palmieri.
I, Jen Kaufman.
I, Liz Thomas.
I, Nancy Hendricks. I, Ben Rogers.
I'm Maura Ryan.
I, Christine Fitzgerald.
Okay.
Thank you.
Dawn?
is someone going to get back to Beth Hengeli about her question regarding these?
Yes.
Okay.
Liz or I will get back to her.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. We are up to bylaws review, possible acceptance. Hopefully everyone's had a chance to review them and make changes. Oh, not make changes? That's even better, right?
Madam Chair?
Yeah.
Discussion, at least perhaps a motion, but right now we're talking about a memorandum of understanding with the town, which certainly should be reflected in the bylaws.
Yep.
We certainly could accept them as they're written and then change them when additional information becomes available, because we can do that according to the bylaws as we currently have them, let alone as they're changed. Because we did have a full discussion at the last meeting, and notes were taken, and this is my understanding is what we have here is kind of a compilation, because we went through page by page by page and took the details. So I'm fine with either way, but I just want to make sure that we realize we're going to be coming back to the bylaws when we finalize and make the processes between the town and the library clearer.
I'm fine with that. Any of our documents should be, they're open to update as needed at any time.
Christine, did you want this?
For the leach library, the bylaws I did, yes.
So, Madam Chair, I would like to publicly thank Christine for this work, because this is painstaking me.
That it was.
It made my eyes roll and do back to my...
That it did.
So thank you for doing
You're
this for
welcome.
us.
I second that one.
Thank you.
For sure.
Can I make a motion?
Yes, please.
So, Madam Chair, I make a motion that we accept the Londonderry Leach Library Board of Trustees bylaws as presented this evening.
Second.
Conversation. Well, my comments are, it needs to have things added to it, but I don't have a problem with, approving them as is, and then next month, or when we want to bring it up, doing the additions, because these are living documents.
Yes, they are.
We can change them at all times.
Yeah.
So if we've gotten all this far so far, I don't want to defer it. So I want to vote on it, I want to get it in, but by the same token, there's certain things that are going to have to go in, like if we're going to start, doing public, comment according to the rules of order of Robert's rules, which we have in our contract saying, in our bylaws saying that we follow, then, the code of ethics, things like that, we'll need to be working on it and adding it in. So, I'm just letting everyone know up front that, so far there's super, there's a few things we may have to add to it. And I don't think anyone has a problem with that. Donna?
I just have one thing for consideration. This is not something that's in here already, and certainly you can consider it for when you're reviewing later. I printed this from the Shed Porter Library Trustees, which is located in Ulstead, New Hampshire. They put a statement in that I think would have really provided some clarity in the situation with the petition. Theirs reads, a majority vote by members present is necessary for the following. So it lists all the things you need to vote on. That includes non-budgeted expenditures, and you can list the amount, changes in policy, issues of personnel, and any public statement concerning the library, which I think would have addressed a lot of our questioning of who would do that. So I just wanted to mention that.
Okay, and again, I guess I'd like you to share that with the board, if you will send it out to the board. Again, we need to consider that this is one library's interpretation of the law, type of thing. And does it, do we agree with it, type of thing. But it's a good stepping off point to note. Okay, and thank you for sharing that. Yes?
I know we've got a motion on the table, but I would like to suggest that we take the document that we've written, but also attach the code of ethics to it.
I suggest
That's what we just said, yeah.
Attaching it to this vote is what I'm saying, not saying we'll kick the can down the road and have it later.
Yeah, we haven't even reviewed
No,
it yet or
we
discussed
can't
it.
add the code of ethics today because we haven't reviewed them.
Yeah.
Okay, and they're definitely going to be added. But today, we're just looking at, can we at least solidify right now, because just like the rules of order, the public comments, things like that, those need to be added. But let's at least, we're all reviewed, we're all going to have comments and want to add and change things. But at least if we could get something accomplished tonight, and then go back to it. And it's up to if anyone wants to make an offer.
We already did. I think it's ready to vote.
Oh, we're doing discussion, that's right.
Right.
Any more discussion? Okay.
I, Helen Palmieri.
I, Jan McLaughlin.
I, Liz Thomas.
I, Nancy Hendricks.
I'm Maura Ryan.
Hi, Christine Fitzgerald.
Okay. Good. Motion passed. Okay. So aren't we glad we still have a job that we have a lot more to do?
Liz?
Yes.
Did you want to go first?
I just have a quick follow-up. We haven't previously posted these online. Would
Yeah, I
you
was
like
gonna
them
ask that.
posted on the website under your trustees page?
I'm sorry, say that one.
We have not previously posted these online. Would you like them added to your trustees page?
Oh, yes, yeah.
Okay.
Can, Christine, since you did this document, we don't have this document, would you mind putting the new date on it and then sending it to us so that we can post it?
Sure.
Thank you.
Great, okay. So, we're actually up to approving the minutes of May 7th. Yes, go ahead.
Madam Chair, I would make a motion that we accept the minutes as presented from the May 7th Board of Trustees meeting.
Do I have a second?
I have some comments.
Well, that would be a discussion.
We're good. Oh, we have discussion?
Yeah, I do have some revisions.
Okay.
Someone should second the motion.
Well, we still got a second
We need
motion.
to second the motion.
Okay. Someone's got to second the motion, we got to vote it, and if it fails, then we'll have, then we'll.
That's second.
Second, okay, Beth seconds. Roll call.
Well, we have the discussion.
Oh, discussion. Thank you.
Now, can I just, now, this, since it was done incorrectly, these are now public, so we can discuss.
No, this is, we're doing May 7th, this is regular meeting, not non-public.
Oh, yeah, not
Oh,
public,
okay,
we're not
sorry.
in the non-public.
And they were sealed, so we can't discuss them.
But it was done, it was not done correctly, if I remember. Is that correct,
Well,
Liz?
I don't,
I think you're right. Yeah, I've got it right.
But we're talking about the public.
we're talking about the public.
But we're talking about the public, those are the ones, they're not sealed, so that's the ones, yeah.
So, Madam Chair, could I make a correction to line 176 in these notes? My name is not spelled correctly.
Okay.
So if it could just be changed to Hendricks, Hendrickson, that would be lovely.
What line? Oh, there it is.
176.
Got it.
Yeah.
So line 50, that was all, not Bob.
I'm sorry, said that.
Where?
That was Goddard.
Oh, I got you. Line 50.
Line 50.
Oh,
Paul Sklar, yeah.
Oh, okay. Paul Skidlick, yes.
Okay.
So someone will get the correct spelling to.
Donna?
Line 119, the resident, on page 3, the resident there was Azra Palo.
Excuse me?
The resident that was mentioned here is Azra Palo.
Okay. Christine?
Yep, I gotta find it again. 301, Maria, Barud instead of T. Also, line 81, there was not all the information that Mr. Douglas spoke to, and I know this is not verbatim, but I feel that some of the information was important to note, specifically about how the board voted, because we follow Robert's rules. The abstain didn't count, so the motion never carried in the first place.
Do you have the verbiage that you want to?
I mean, it could just be added in from the recording.
So we need to review the recording for that
Yeah.
line. Okay.
And you know that goes all the way to like 878.
What's
It wasn't
that?
just that one sentence. It goes all the way to 87.
Right. Also, hold on, there was another thing I wrote down. Bear with me.
Yeah, one more quick question on that one. Christine,
Yep.
when you read all through 87, wasn't that about the gist of what he said? No, he said more. You say, Jim.
Well, I wasn't here for the meeting, but I did watch it. I did watch it online. Well, I did watch it on TV. There was quite a bit that was said during this about both by this gentleman as well as by board members, and I think either Aaron or Donna at the same point also had discussion here. But it was about whether the vote was or wasn't, the previous vote was or wasn't affirmed or not affirmed.
Okay.
Right, because it went into detail of, 2 voted yes, 2 voted no, 2 abstentions.
And was referencing Robert's rules, though. He referenced Robert's rules.
Correct.
Okay, so this whole section from 81 through 88 needs to be revisited and corrected, so we're not going to be able to vote on these
Then I
today.
withdraw my motion.
Yeah. Okay.
I just wanted to note that with all these changes, who is communicating to the secretary to update this so that it can be posted online? Do we have a board member that's doing that? Because the board hired a secretary.
I am happy to do that.
Okay, thank you,
I
Bill.
don't have her.
I'll make sure you have all her information, okay?
Can we just
Phone
make
number and
sure
everything.
Laura's
I'll get that
returning
to you
now?
tomorrow. Okay?
Well, we're not voting on it.
No, I know, but if she had more changes to pass to the secretary. Did you have any changes for the regular May 7th minutes? Beth is going to reach out to
I'll
the
be
recording
waiting.
secretary to make the update.
Oh, well, they're having a conversation. Go ahead.
I had one more change. The line 294, it also references a resident without a name. That was Erica Lowy.
I also had a change on line, I believe it's 89. Debbie DeRoche, her name is spelled incorrectly. It's DESROCHERS.
Oh, and,
Hang on.
sorry.
Betsy, I just want to make sure you're caught up with us? Okay. Ellen?
I just wanted to comment in the interest of time and efficiency. If we're videotaping the meetings and we're doing this, do we need to nitpick these every time? Because it just feels like, to a point, we talked so long and so hard about why we should video the meetings and why that was so important. And one of the things that was made comment earlier, I think by our representative from the town council, is that we don't have to have as detailed minutes and labor over them. And then we debate them and discuss them. And I'm just saying, maybe we could be more efficient with that since we have the video as backup.
Sean, do you want to weigh in on that?
Well, I mean,
You're going to be sorry you came.
obviously, there's a lot of discretion in these matters. So
Yeah.
there's a whole range of things that you could do. You could use AI and you could have transcription. That's the very extreme end of that. And then, of course, the only thing that a statute requires is very limited. Who voted on what the vote was, what the subject matter was, and it's pretty limited. So that's what your requirements are, and then you go to the extreme over here of having literally a transcription of that. I would urge caution if you're going to take almost word for word what one person said, and you don't do it with others,
Right.
you're going to run into an issue
Yeah.
there. And what I have always encouraged my boards to do is I give the discretion to the minutes taker to do a summary of what the discussion was about, what that person said, because you do have the recording. In this day and age, we have that. And that is much better than anything we've used to have since the 1700s, where you would just have who spoke and some brief comments on that. So you have a whole range that you have discretion on what you're going to allow. I would just urge consistency, because if you do it for one and you don't take this person's comments, but you write everything this person said, that's going to be considered unfair, and you could run into some litigation issues on that. I've never heard of a case about that. Potentially, you would run into that of a fairness issue.
So, to summarize that, you're telling us the most important thing for us to do is record any motions
Votes.
and the votes
And a summary.
and the summary.
Yeah.
Okay.
Of the topical
And-
item discussed. That's what's
Yes.
required by statute. Most places go well
Yeah.
beyond that. But
And if we, so then a lot of the other stuff that we're adding in people's conversations, that as long as that's available on the tape, by law, we've met the intent of the law as long as recording the votes and the summaries of the votes.
Right, you're not required to have video, but it's really nice to have.
Yeah, but now, well, we are required to have a full, transcription of some sort of the meeting, and that would be our
Well,
video.
you're not. But,
No, you're not.
but
Okay,
it's-
let's say you're not.
But in this day and age, people have gotten used to the fact that we
Yes,
record
okay.
everything by video. It's all audio recorded, so you have exactly who said what, where, and when, depending on how good your equipment is. And if it's
Thank
working.
you. Thank you very much. Beth, isn't he just confirming what you just told me 2 months ago? You must be a happy girl today. Yeah.
My only reason for going into that level of detail is because there was so much conversation about that topic that evening, and that was clarifying that because of how the votes happened, that the motion wouldn't have passed either way. That was my only reason for
And, yeah,
adding it.
it was a very valid thing that he
It's a
said.
very contentious meeting.
I think that basically, going forward, we should keep in mind that we have to have all the motions and how they were voted and everything, first and more importantly. And if we, as a trustee, you say this is something that we should have, we should include in the notes, because this is something, that, had, like you said, that Mr. Douglas gave us some very good information that we need to retain, type of thing. But maybe not get in the weeds so much. I guess that's what I would say. Yeah.
Madam Chair, I'd like to recommend that we somehow make a note on the website, if we can, wherever our meetings are listed, to remind the public that they can check with each, that the minutes that we record, we do a video recording of the meetings, and that those are available on the YouTube channel or on the government channel, so that they can check with that.
It is on the minutes.
Okay, but I'm just saying, if there was an overall thing, so
We
that...
need, exactly, if we alert the public that we're going to be giving them the important information that by law we need to supply in the minutes. But if there's going to be other discussions that may be important to them, and so they can view it on the video.
And my comment about that also is, this is only for those who are cable subscribers, those of us who stream. It's not the cable. I understand, but this link is only the cable.
You can find it on.
Well, hang on. I got one comment. I'm recognizing Megan as an employee here and as the manager of the library, not as a public, general
Circulation,
public.
head of circulation. I just wanted to clarify that the agenda center online on the town website has a link for each meeting that has the meeting, the agenda, the recording, and the written minutes are all
They're
together,
already notified.
already on the agenda center for each meeting for each department.
And do they list both the cable link as well as the YouTube link?
It's a link to the video. I am unsure which video it goes to,
Okay.
but it is. I've not had
The same
trouble to
video,
open
wherever it
the
is.
video wherever I've opened it, and I don't have a YouTube account, so I assume.
So that's already taken care of. Thank you, Megan.
Thank you.
Okay, yes, Laura.
Just a question, does the recording secretary, Beth H., get the video recording, or is it just the audio?
She looks at the video.
At the
She
video.
watches the video.
Yeah, it's posted up immediately, and she goes to the video.
Well,
Okay,
it's been like delayed lately by
Well,
like a week.
yeah. And,
Doesn't do the audio,
and
just
we
the
used
video.
to send her the audio, and she said it wasn't necessary.
Okay,
Okay.
just checking.
And now that we're streamlining it, maybe our secretary will be able to do it, and we won't have to, be having that's where our goal is, and I thank you.
Thanks, go do them.
Thank
It'll
you.
take 4 hours a meeting.
Yeah, you do, but now you know you can do it an abridged version, okay?
So are we not approving the minutes for May 7th?
We can.
Okay, so
cannot.
those are coming to the next meeting?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And then I guess we're going to look at what were we going to do with the non-public meeting?
The non-public, the board has to approve it.
Yes, yeah.
But we can't speak to them. We
No,
just
we
need
won't
to,
speak
we
to
just
it.
need a vote
No,
for
just-
approval.
Yeah, yeah. I Does anyone on the board have, did they,
I had some comments there. There should
Oh,
have been
you do?
some more information that should have been included in there.
Okay, so that would be discussion that would have to happen in.
in non-public?
Non-public.
Yeah.
Another meeting, because we can't do that.
So we can't approve those.
No.
Do you want to
No.
move that to the July meeting in a non-public session?
Sounds good.
Yeah.
'Cause I didn't think we did this legally, so I thought we could talk
No.
about it in.
No, the
Yeah,
minutes were
We need
sealed.
to discuss this more.
Okay.
But we
All right.
can't do it in public, so.
That's fine.
Okay, good. Okay.
How about
All
May
right.
20th?
May 20th?
20th, anyone?
Anyone want to take a stab at May 20th? Hang on. I have no changes, so. Anyone have any changes before we make the motion?
Donna
Okay.
does.
Donna?
There were a couple public comment names that didn't have last names. I don't have them in front of me at the moment. I'm not sure, Beth, if you have them recorded.
Yeah.
They were line 102 and line 201, where there's a first name but not a last name. And then line 206, I do have the correct spelling for Azra's name that I could send you, Beth, if you don't have it.
Okay, so 102 Dana, living at 46 Seasons
I'm
Lane.
here. I'll give you the right.
Dana?
Thank you, Dana.
You want the spelling?
Yes, please.
V as in Victor, I-L-L-E-N-E-U-V-E.
Whoop, did you get that?
Donna, one more time. Dana, one more time.
Dana.
V as in Victor, I-L-L-E-N-E-U-V-E. Thank you.
Thank you.
No problem.
Beth, you?
Yep, that one I got.
Okay, good.
I have a question for Helen on line 120. I didn't recall you suggesting using the list of individuals who ran for trustee. I thought you gave, oh, you did?
I did.
I know you mentioned Chris Navarro. I thought that was the one name you threw out. I didn't realize that you said using the list of.
No, I
Okay.
did, because I said, I thought it was under the understanding that that's what we were going to pursue.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
That was my only question.
Anyone else have?
All right, I make a motion to accept these minutes.
Second.
Discussion? Yes.
I just had one correction. I don't know if it makes a difference, but
Okay.
at the beginning, I didn't vote on the first thing. It says I didn't vote, but I actually said abstain because I wasn't there
Oh.
until after the discussion.
Yes, that's right, I remember that. Yeah.
Can you just tell me where?
50.
Line 50.
So just changing that to abstain. Okay. Yes.
I'm sorry, I just want to clarify. Is the motion to approve them as is or with changes?
With changes. And, yes,
I'd like to move the
and we're
question.
not done the changes
No,
yet.
I'd like to move the question.
Okay, all right. Okay, so, roll call.
I, Helen Palmieri.
Aye. Jan McLaughlin.
I, Liz Thomas.
I, Nancy Hendricks.
I'm Maura Ryan.
Hi, Christine Fitzgerald.
All right. Okay. We still need to get to the treasurer, but I think a couple of these we can just put to bed really quick, okay?
Yeah, the past trust gift idea was just to let the board know that we have purchased the materials and they're, I think either they're being processed or they've been processed and added to the collection for that request. So
Okay, cloud library dues, when does that due?
we need to make a decision on that tonight.
Okay, and,
So the cloud library is an online service that we get through the consortium. Libraries in the past, there's no set amount that the consortium asked for people to donate, or I guess you submit. The range has been in the past, I just got information for, I believe it was last year, the range went from 1,000 to 25,000 as far as what libraries have given. Some libraries have given twice a year, so that's why their number, they would do like 4,000 at the beginning of the year, 4,000 at the end of the year, that kind of thing. So that's how that came to be. So we're asking for the board to decide on an amount that would come. I'm asking for it to come out of the trustees' account right now, and then going forward, we would make that donation from our budget regularly.
Okay.
So,
Jen?
I would like to make a motion that we donate this time $1,000, but I would like it to be taken from the remaining money from the budget, since we still have money left under the amount of money that we have that was the bottom line budget for the end of the year, since we still have money that we need to use, that I think we should donate the money from there.
Okay, and my question to you is, you don't anticipate, and we got to make sure John and Aaron agreed that you don't anticipate any additional expenses that are going to come in that would affect the bottom line.
are you asking me or
Yes,
or
all of you.
I didn't know if you were asking Jan.
Yeah, all three of you. I feel like you're
Hard to say since I don't have any contracts.
Yeah, I know.
But in the past we have had money remaining that has been retrieved by the town.
Yes, yeah.
And so I think $1,000 is a reasonable amount that could come out of there. I'm not adverse to us donating it from the trustee account. I just think that since we have a budgetary amount that's available, that we should use that first.
I'll second that.
Okay, discussion. I just want to make sure that Aaron and Donna, do you think that $1,000 that we would take out of the budget is going to affect our bottom line?
I think we can do $1,000.
You think we can afford that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yes.
I do want to ask the board though, what are we doing with our money that we have that the community's raised if we're not funding the summer programs and we're not funding the cloud? I'm wondering why we're sitting on money that would enhance the program so that their budget could continue to work towards the things that they had already designated as like their projected purchases in the next bit of time. Yeah. I'm saying yeah, but I'm not the chair.
No. And my answer to it would be the money that we have in the trustees account in the past has gone for donations to fund GMILKs. For 2 years, 2 different years, we've donated a big chunk of money, over $17,500 one year and $24,500 another year. We've also donated a program. Last year we did like $4,000 worth of programs that we wrote out of that account.
This year.
So the problem we have this year is we have the question as to whether all of the funds will be available that we've gotten in the past, or that we may have to supplement things as programs might be deleted or subtracted or whatever. So in the past we have, when they've come through us and asked for the picnic tables, we did the picnic tables. So those kinds of things. But if there's anything that happens that goes away because of lack of federal or state funding, we have the trustees account to be able to help with that. Right now, there are funds that are still available in the budget that's been approved as a bottom line. If we don't use them for the library, they'll go back to the town, and the town will use them for something.
Right, but I think that what I'm concerned about is that they had things that they were projecting to use that money for, and if we're then saying, could we swing it in this direction, we're now pulling away from something that they had planned that money for.
And I understand what you're saying. We haven't gone over the finances yet, but there are a number of items that have a large sum of money, like $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 difference between the approved amount and what we've actually spent. That we spent $3,000 or $4,000 less than that. So we have, at this time, a month out before the end of the fiscal year. We've already spent all but 1 month's worth, and we still have room in that code. So that money is going to either be used for something else by us at the library, or it's going to be used by the town for something else, or returned, hopefully, to the taxpayers. So that's what I'm just saying.
Christine?
And also, like the past few things that were asked, like the printers, and I can't remember, the summer programming, that this will help because you said next year we would put that, the cloud dues in the budget. So if we're trying to right-size the budget, this is another reason to put this in the budget now so we know how to move forward better the next time around.
Donna?
I just wanted to give a little bit of history prior to Erin, that the former director would regularly, at least once a year, ask the board for $20,000 for the book account. And sometimes, I think the last year that happened, it was actually $40,000. So I just wanted to share that was something that was happening prior.
I'm going to make a comment on that, okay? That $40,000, we've done extensive research. I've talked to town councilors to find out how that worked. It was during COVID. They had $100,000 that was not spent by the library because it was closed, okay? And so what they did is the town council voted to take that $100,000 and give it back to the library of trustees, okay? And this was before Erin's time, okay?
I was here, and that did not happen.
I'm telling you,
The treasurer's report would reflect that money going into that account, and it does not. I
was at Justin's office, and he showed me the transaction.
Okay. And it went into the trustees account?
Yes, and it did. And then we wrote a check for $40,000 to the book account. We took a portion of that $100,000 and gave it directly into the book account, $40,000. That was we did a trace.
Because the treasurer's report that I saw was for two different 3-month periods, and there was two separate checks for $20,000 that went from the trustee.
I can't tell you exactly why they did it that way of 2 checks, but yes, we followed the paper trail at Justin's office to the $100,000 that went into our account, and then $40,000 went out into the book account. Okay,
But then you'd have $60,000 right now. You don't.
Correct.
We've spent for the last 4 years. We've been donating money.
But at no point did you have $60,000. Like the math doesn't work. We can follow up with Justin.
Yeah, we can follow up with Justin and get clarification.
You know what?
Maybe we can have Justin come to a trustee meeting and have him explain everything.
Okay, I guess I have a problem of the trustees have voted, they have money, they vote, they move it, all within the library, and now we're doing a forensic study of the last 7 years of the trustees' money.
I don't think we need to.
I don't think we need to.
No, I don't. I'm just saying that if there's confusion about how money works, well, I'll leave that for the trustee.
And again, what I was just stating is that, yes, we did 1 year donate $40,000 to the book account, but it was money that was given to us back from the town that we donated into it. We're not in the position now. We're not getting $100,000 from the town now.
I have no issue.
So, go ahead.
May I be recognized?
As an employee, you may speak.
I just wanted to let you know a couple of things happened in that time frame that many of you were not necessarily here for. During COVID, before Erin came, we had 2 senior staff members resign, Sally Nelson, the assistant director, and Barbara Ostertag-Holkamp, the library director. And we were without a significant amount of money in that spending in salary line. So there was money that went back in a larger amount at that time due to those 2 positions not being filled.
Yes, yes.
So that's one thing. The town requested money back from the library during COVID that the trustees at the time paid back to the town. It didn't go into the trustees' account, but that came from the town. I do not remember all the details. I remember it happening around that time. I was part of the library representatives at that time. So I think it does have a merit to go through and get the exact, like, what happened, just so everybody's on the same page. But I know there was an ask for the town to have money back because of COVID with different things, anticipated funding, revenue was lower that year. And I'm sorry that I don't have the exact things, but I do know it came from the town side first. And so there's just, COVID was a very strange time for everybody involved.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of federal funding at that same time that came in for different emergency supplies as well. So there's just a lot of money from different pools coming in. I just wanted to clarify
And
that.
going out again.
Exactly.
And
So
that might
it's just-
explain, I think Donna's question is why don't we see that money now if we were given that money? But if we had to give back part of the money.
But, right, so there was money that did
Yes.
get given back to the town on their request.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't know all the details, but that is something that we could definitely find out.
Yeah. Again, it's very difficult. I mean, we're talking to retired town councilmen who had voted for this before, and they've been filling in the pieces of the puzzle. We saw the 100,000 coming in from Justin, in the records, in the previous records, and there were pieces of the puzzle of where did it go out. And now you saw the 40,000 come in at some point, at some year, of a donation from the trustees fund.
All I'm saying is there was a history, not just 1 year. There was a history of the director asking the board every year for at least $20,000 for the book account. That's all I'm sharing with you. That there was a history there of that. That's it.
We have a motion on the floor to vote on.
Where are we at?
So much on the
Jan
motion.
made
Who's
a
on
motion
first?
to donate $1,000.
Donate
Oh,
$1,000
yeah,
to be
and
taken out
someone
of the
seconded it,
balance.
didn't they?
Yeah, to be taken out of the existing budget, not the trustees.
Okay, yes. Roll call.
I, Helen Palmieri.
I, Jen McLaughlin.
Alice Thomas.
I, Nancy Hendricks.
I'm Maura Ryan.
Hi, Christine Fitzgerald.
Okay,
Thank you.
now the next thing is, the annual New Hampshire Library Trustees
Yep,
Association.
I can speak to that.
Yes.
So in your packets is a flyer of sorts from the NHLTA annual awards. Every year, the trustees, or I believe it's all based on the trustees, are able to vote or nominate people. They can be nominated for Library of the Year. You can see all the list of different nominations that can happen. There's Lillian Ellerman Trustee of the Year Award, Library Director of the Year Award, Special Library Service Contribution Award, and a couple others. I'm asking for this nomination must require a unanimous vote by the board and a contact of the board. So I would need to be working with a board member to help submit all this information, unless the board member would like to take it over. But I'm happy to assist. And I would like the board to consider us to nominate us for Library of the Year.
Someone want to make a motion? Beth? Beth, you made a motion.
We unanimously accept Erin's request for us to submit Leach Library for the NHLTA award.
And I'm going to second that emotion. Not motion. I'm going to second that motion. I usually don't. But I'm passionate about that. Okay, and Beth, you'll work with Erin?
Well, you're going to take a vote.
Oh boy, so sorry. I'm already giving the money away.
It doesn't get any money.
In discussion first, any discussion? Okay.
Hold on, Moira has something.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, just a question. It says here that, have you guys ever nominated for this before?
No,
And what's the actual award?
it's just Library of the Year award. There's no money valued. It's just recognition.
Do you get a plaque?
I believe so.
Right.
I believe it says that presentations will take place at a site time agreed upon the library trustees and NHLTA, and they will select the winners at the September board meeting and will notify those who submit the nomination on the decision. I believe there's a plaque, but I've never received it, so I don't know.
Have we ever won this?
No.
We've never submitted.
Okay.
No.
As far as we know.
Yes.
Just for the sake of public interest, if you look back at the budget committee meeting from this past November 20th, I think, Kate Burbridge, who was on the budget committee, did a really fantastic job of sharing out statistics that compared Leach Library against other libraries in neighboring towns and communities. And by far, Leach stands like above and beyond the competitors with what they can produce, with the, you know, with what they have. And it's remarkable with the way you were able to deliver those statistics. And I encourage everybody to go back and check it November 20th because it was phenomenal. And Leach really, really is an amazing place, and the stats prove it.
So I think you're going to get all the information you need from her
Yep.
for the nomination.
Yep. Well, I think also, to be
great
honest, joining the consortium, one of the things that they recommend for under Library of the Year is demonstrating expansion, improvement of services and technology. The consortium does that.
Yeah.
It also does has developed partnerships with other libraries and community organizations. GMILKS does that by doing that. And then there's a couple of other things that we can certainly speak to. So.
Yes, exactly. So, the Gmails will answer all of those things.
Yep.
Yes, yeah. Okay, any more discussion? Vote.
Okay. I, Helen Palmieri.
I, Jan McLaughlin.
I, Liz Thomas.
I, Nancy Hendricks.
I'm Maura Ryan.
I, Christine Fitzgerald.
And the vote passes.
Thank you. Did you recommend Beth to work with me
Yes,
on
yes.
submitting that? Is that okay, Beth?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'll reach out to
She
you.
would be willing to work with you. She said, well, if
And
I
you can,
have to.
you can call a friend.
If I have to.
Phone a friend, is that what you just said?
Right. Yeah, phone a friend, right?
I haven't got a book. Okay. Oh, we're up to the review of the children's librarian job description, posting.
Yep, so I sent this to everybody to review. We'd like to post this, I believe, in July, I think we said, with a hire in September. So I don't know, I guess I'm a little confused on the board's role on this, but do the board vote to do it, or do we just, I'm sharing this with the board.
Yeah, we need to vote. But the first thing I want to ask you is, the posting, I'm not talking about the posting, I'm talking about the job review, the job description.
Okay.
Okay, it's a children's librarian. Well,
Yes.
that would be a full-time,
Nope, part-time.
so it is, so we should define it as then part-time job
It
description.
is defined that in the job posting, not in the job description. The job description
Okay.
does not define the hours, it just defines the actual job. The posting would define the hours and pay and how to reach out to submit resume and all of that information.
Okay, so the amount of work, the duties are not going to change whether they're full-time or part-time?
No,
Okay.
nope, it would be the same.
Yeah, that's what I just wanted to be sure of.
June has a question.
Yes, Jan.
So my concern when I read through this was that there was an awful lot of stuff that was listed in there, and I understand the reasoning for it, for covering other desks and doing other things outside of the children's library. But my concern is, as we were justifying the need for this position, especially this past year, we were talking about the critical need for that person to physically and emotionally be
invested
with the children's library. So I'm a little concerned that the amount of things that are outside of the library, the children's library itself. So I was concerned about that.
Can I speak to that? So the reason why it's in there is because in every librarian level position, there's the same language for a lot of these things.
Okay.
So it's like, it's equal for all librarians.
Okay.
And it also gives us flexibility if we absolutely need them to cover like the reference desk, for example, they have the skill level to do that. That doesn't mean that they're going to be there for the majority of the job. They're not. We want them focused on children's services.
So if you have two librarians in the children's room, and then you need someone on reference, you can then pull one person and put them there. Gives you more flexibility.
Yes.
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah, and it's also lets the candidate know that your expectation is that they'll do more than, just a small, one section of the library type of thing. Because when you're talking about an MLS, and you're talking about a full-time, hard-time employee now, but still, you're talking about a person whose expertise can be used in other sources. Yes.
Along the same line, I was concerned about, what was it that I was concerned about? It's getting late, can you tell? Being out of the talk about that they would report to the head of the children's programs or children's department. And my concern or question is when this eventually becomes full-time, which I assume is one of the goals, to eventually have this be a full-time position, if this is now the specialist with children's programming that we're hiring, wouldn't it make sense that they were maybe perhaps in charge of some of that children's librarian thing? So there wouldn't be, so that they wouldn't necessarily have another person in charge of the children's library to report to.
No,
I'm just wondering.
So the children's room does have a department head, just like all the except for reference right now, has a department head. That department head has people underneath them. So this children's librarian would be reporting to their department head, and then their department head reports to me. It's not to say that this person can't come to me if they have questions or concerns, or to Donna for that matter, but their department head is their next kind of line in for supervisory.
So if we already have a person who specializes in children's programming, then why? So I'm just trying to make sure that it's clear as to why we have this new person that we wanted to have.
So the department head does specialize in children's programming. Obviously, that's how she got there with those kind of expertise. But she also does a number of other things. This person would assist in that children's programming, planning, production, so forth, and then also assist in the other duties that department head has: collection development, outreach to schools. Summer reading is a big one that would help in assisting the planning. So this person would be, in a sense, an assistant to that person, and they would both be doing the work. But sometimes, if the department head needs to go to a school, this children's librarian then is there, hopefully on that day because it's part-time, to assist the needs of the children's department if so, or programming wise. It's not to say that other staff won't do some other children's program, because we do have other staff that does some story times, because we do a lot of those and we need that staff. But this person would assist in all of that process.
Okay, I just want thank you for the clarification.
Yep.
Any other comments? Yes, Maura.
Just a question. When we do these postings, do we post any type of equal opportunity statement?
We haven't before, but I can certainly reach out to the town to get the same language that they use.
Yeah.
Because I certainly think that a person with disability could do this job, and I don't want, I want to make sure that we're welcoming those types of applications.
We certainly would, but I can get some language to put that on the posting.
Yeah, I had that question too from the standpoint of the list of skills. It certainly seems to leave out the possibility of someone who has limited vision or limited hearing or limited mobility from doing some of the position from the standpoint of what's listed as the skills. So it would be good to have some statement like that.
I'll reach out to the town.
Yes, Christine.
For the minimum qualifications, do we want to have an MLS or equivalent job experience? Or is an MLS, because it is a part-time position, and I believe it was stated before that there wouldn't be that many people with an MLS looking for a part-time position. So I think we would limit our candidates if we just have a strict MLS versus MLS preferred,
Say
but
5
have-
years.
To speak to that, I would prefer to have an MLS for that position.
I would agree, because hopefully we're going to grow, the library is going to grow to the point where that will be a full-time position. And certainly if we have someone that doesn't have an MLS, and then we're ready to hire for someone full-time, what do we do with that individual? Boot them out the door? So I would like to think that that position will grow, and we will have an individual kind of on the bench, if you will, to just grow and move into that role. That's just my position.
Donna, I'm sorry, Jan, help me with it. Go ahead, Donna.
I just wanted to note there is potential, I think, for someone from a teaching background to be interested in this position. So you could consider like another like an MED being another qualifier if you wanted to.
Especially with experience that might overlap.
Yeah, Jan.
So that's part of the thing that I was questioning, or not questioning, or just concerned about is right now we seem to have all of our full-time positions seem to be require an MLS, which I think is unusual for the libraries.
People are shaking their heads.
That's not true. We have 2 positions that do not have an MLS that are full-time.
Okay. So out of the 8, 6 are full-time. Full-time positions require an MLS. So regardless, we seem to have an awful lot of positions that require that. And I'm just saying maybe we need some there are oftentimes people who have had experience, perhaps they've been in the service and they've been dealing with a children's library in the service, but it's not categorized as they don't get an MLS as but they've had 8 years of experience doing a children's librarian job on the base or something. There may be people that we have that have experience that is not necessarily that degree. And I would certainly say that maybe an education person would also have that as well. So,
Can I add one thing? I will add that in a conversation 2 weeks ago, Mindy Atwood, yeah, who's the acting, she's still the acting.
She's the acting state librarian at the state library.
And she was surprised that we had so many MLSs, and she said, I'm just saying what she said, that it's unusual, okay? That was her opinion only, okay? And she may not be aware of the other libraries that had them. I know, Erin, you did say that you did a thing around.
We are not our library is not the library with the most MLSs.
No, but you said
at all.
But you said your library is not out of the, it's within the norm of the libraries in the area. I think you said MLSs. Is that what you said?
I think our library to have librarians with MLSs is completely appropriate. Yes.
Okay, Helen.
I forgot what I was going to say at this point.
I'm sorry, I don't want to say.
I know, I forget what I was going to say.
Oh, well, you forgot what you said.
I think what I was, wait, Liz, what I was going to say was in regard to what Jan said. If someone came in like that with 8 years of experience from the base and at the library, if I trust Erin to make a decision to hire that person.
Right.
I trust Erin to have that discretion to look at that person's experience and match it up to what.
Well, I know, but for this last position,
When your posting says MLS required, she would not even be able to consider them or talk to those people.
They might
to
not.
find out those opportunities.
They might not.
Well, they might
If
not
they
apply.
think it's mandatory, they might not even apply.
Yeah, no, they're not going to apply. It says mandatory. Yeah.
I think in that one specific case, you might be able to say, or an equivalent degree like a master's in ed, but even a master's in ed. I'm a teacher with a master's in ed. They're very different. Like, it's not the same. It's not apples and apples. And I'm wondering why we're kind of setting Leach up to be Blockbuster for books. Like, we want the most qualified people.
100%.
You dress for success. You dress for the position you want. You attract the people for this position with the highest level of standard, and those are the people who are going to want to be here. People don't want to be here if they have worked for a master's degree in this and we are a blockbuster of books. Like, we just don't want to set that standard.
And, oh, go ahead.
I just don't understand what the problem is with requiring an MLS. This is a library. You know, it's library science. Don't we want the best of the best? Don't we want to wave our flag and say, woo-hoo, Leach Library is the best of the best? Don't we?
Right, but I was just saying because it's a part-time position.
I understand that, but I'm just saying, even
for that,
if it
and
is
if we have to come
part-time,
back
if
in
that
6
individual
months,
wants to move into
come
a
back.
full-time position and he or she doesn't have
I get it.
an
I
MLS,
understand. Yeah.
we're going to kick them to the curb? No. I want the best of the
I'm
best.
sorry, Jan, go ahead.
Since we do offer at this time course reimbursement, it doesn't seem out of line as far as I'm concerned for a candidate to have perhaps equivalent or to perhaps apply with equivalent years of experience. And perhaps would be working toward whatever. We don't know who we're eliminating by having things as inflexible. And sometimes the other experiences might be superior to certain programs that are registered as library science, but might not be a great one.
So do we have any idea how long it takes to get a master's full-time? If someone goes to school full-time for their master's here, and how long does it take to get a master's?
1 to 2
Well,
years.
actually, Megan,
2 years.
Megan's 1
So
to 2
if we
years.
have an individual, an employee that we're doing reimbursement for, which of course, you're right, we would happily do, how long do you suppose it's going to take that individual to get their master's?
Well, then that's also speaking that they would actually want to do that.
Correct.
Right.
Why would they want to do that if they're having the job already?
Right.
There are incentives built into our personnel policy, and that we've talked about. But I'm just saying that I would like to see some flexibility so that candidates with a wider profile could apply. That doesn't mean that may be the person that they desire.
I think we want to be selective.
I think we want to be selective.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Megan.
All right, thank you. I'm head of circulation services. I just wanted to let you know, as somebody who has taken advantage of the whole process, I started here as a library assistant, and I got my bachelor's degree, and then once I had my bachelor's degree, I worked to getting my master's degree. Most of my master's degree was paid by the library. It did take me close to 6 years because, one, the funding wasn't always available through the library because there's only a limited number of funds. The second is somebody else was going for their master's degree at the same time, so it had to be split between 2 different people. So it's not something that you can get if you can't afford it, especially at a part-time salary. So that's one thing. But as someone who has worked in the library for 20 years here, I will tell you that before my degree and after my degree, I can 100% say that you need a degree for this job. There is a lot of information that you learn and experience things that you have by having this degree. It is a professional position, regardless if it's part-time or full-time, it's still the same responsibilities. So you're devaluing my education, Donna's education, Aaron's education, Jennifer's education, Nick's education that he just graduated with. This is what we do. And as far as the children's room is, the children's department has the highest circulation by far. They have the highest range of cognitive development from infant through 6th grade. I have teens, and that's a big hormonal mess that I deal with. But that's really only about 6 years. What Jennifer's dealing with is much more change. Like, you think of a newborn child and all the programs that we have for the lap sit, the baby programs, then they transition into the toddler times and the story times, and you have the after school programs. All of these take a good, firm education and understanding of how little minds develop, how story times, matching games develop shape recognition, skills in color recognition. That's the kind of person we're looking for. Someone who has that training and ability to know what works in the library, why we do what we do. That is why degrees are important. I will say that I had gotten my degree. I got promoted before I got my degree, and I do think that was the wrong move on the past directors. It was not, I know, I was promoted by Barbara. I do think that by the time I was done my degree, I was a much better librarian. And I think that's why it is very important. And our previous director had a different view of circulation. She felt that the circulation was not as important as the other departments, and so the pay range reflected that. So I was not being paid at the same level as the other librarians because she felt that circulation was not as important in the library world. But I didn't have my degree at the time, so that was fair. This pay range is going to be the same pay range as the other librarians. So if one person has a degree and one doesn't, then they're not really fair being in that pay range. And I will remind you that the town voted on this position. As voted, it is with the understanding that the amount of money that was voted on was for a MLS required
I
level.
don't believe that the warrant ever
It
stated
didn't state
MLS.
that. It had the amount of money is reflective of the salary of someone with an MLS.
For the full-time position.
No,
It had
for the part-time.
both full-time and part-time. The major difference was benefits, but there was a monetary value attached to the warrant, which was reflective of having a master's degree. So the town already voted to have the master's degree by default.
1 minute.
Can we please-
I want to make a comment, Jen wants to make a
Okay,
comment. then we'll
absolutely.
move on. I want to thank you for sharing that because I think that was very important information.
Yes, I'm
Okay.
happy to share whatever, but
Okay,
as someone
thank you.
who's done this,
For your
I just...
perspective, yeah, you've seen, go ahead.
Oh, just with the things that Megan had quoted about the childhood development. As a person with a Master's of Education in Curriculum Instruction, I had a lot of training in childhood development for all those different age groups. So, you know, I'm not saying that I would want to necessarily be a children's librarian, nor that I would be qualified for it, but that there may be people that have had that have an alternative degree that may, in fact, have training and experience that we could use. That's all.
And I guess my last statement is that I'm always looking for ways, how can we save the town money? I'm a taxpayer, and my taxes are sky high all the time, you know? And so when I look at the library, I said, how can we provide the service levels that people want and everything else, and yet not continue raising, you know, our cost, our budget, okay? And it's really tough because, first of all, you know, the salary is the salary. So if you've got an MLS, they're expected to be paid a certain amount. And it's wonderful if you can get an MLS to do a part-time job, you know? It really is, because you're getting a great person for a lot less money than you normally.
They're paid the same, but without the benefits. So they've
Yeah.
already got the money from the town.
Yeah.
She's saying she doesn't think people would want to be a part-time job.
I said,
Yeah.
as opposed to a full-time job, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, the thing is, I just want everyone to realize that if we're not cutting, if we don't want to raise our costs in our budget, if we are not cutting wages, and we're not cutting, you're going to cut books, or you're going to cut
We
services.
got the money from the town. So we're not cutting money.
I'm not questioning that. What I'm saying, going forward, we got the money for the town for this budget, okay? But now next year's budget is coming up in a couple of months. Now we've got to up that budget that much more percent because we have an extra body to cut for, okay? So now the town's going to say, well, why do you want this much more money? Well, you gave us the extra position we needed. So somewhere, at some point, something's got to suffer. And I'm not saying it should be the library staff, okay? I'm not saying it should be your MLS. What I'm saying is we have to realize that somewhere we may have to not have so many programs. We can't cut the book line. We really can't, you know? And so, and most everything else is a set price to maintain the maintenance and the building and everything. So I just want everyone to realize when you're voting, okay, I think it's very valuable that they have an MLS. I'm shocked that anyone with an MLS would want to work part-time for that salary, but by the same token, now you have that additional amount that's now contracted for next year that's going to be added into the budget, yet the budget committee is going to say, well, why are you asking for this much more money? Because we're given an extra person, type of thing. And so you just have to realize that somewhere at some point there's a point of reckoning where they're going to say, okay, well, we'll let you have that for the salary, but we're going to cut your book line, or we're going to cut your management services, okay? Just, again, I'm always looking at the negative of what could happen, just like the library trustee money. What could happen? We could lose federal and state funding. We need to save that trustee money to supplement services to our town. Okay, what could happen in this? I myself, I think we have a lot of MLSs, but by the same token, I think they have a lot of value. Okay? And so I know I've gotten jobs because I had my master's and wouldn't have gotten it before. The thing is that somewhere at some point in time, when there's a reckoning, we don't want to be laying off staff. So we're going to have to cut back somewhere, programs or wherever it is. Okay, Beth.
We need to vote on whether or not we're going to accept this job description. I think it's unfair to Erin and Donna for us to now start threatening to cut budgets in the future budgets and future programs if we don't.
Okay, we're voting on if we're going to be having an MLS.
I am somebody with a master's degree who worked part-time because that worked well for my schedule at a point in time in my life. I think it is unfair to start saying we're going to slash programs in the future if we go with an MLS, because I just feel like that's not fair. The town voted to pay this person part-time.
For 1 year, for just this year.
But that's our job, is to say, now how can we fund that person for this year? That's a whole separate budget that we can talk about.
Okay, Jen.
I would like us to move on, but I do have to say, she didn't say we're going to cut programs if you don't vote for this. So I don't think that there was an equivalent thing, but we have the right as board members to make questions on qualifications for positions, and that's what I was doing anyway.
And again, if the price is $40,000, next year we're going to have to budget with everything else probably $50,000. Okay. When the town comes to us and says, we want you to have a flat budget next year, and we don't want to increase anything, okay, something's got to go. As a board, you need to think as a board member, Beth, okay? You need to think of as a board member.
I'm sorry, did you think I was doing anything other than that? We are, in this moment, assigned with the task of voting for a job description that she's required to fill. The town voted to approve a person. She needs to be able to submit this. We need to vote. And we shouldn't be voting already against this person before they're even hired because of what next year or the year next might present. We don't have that crystal ball. It's not ethical to vote on 3 years from now budget. We have to fill this position now.
I don't think any of those things were said.
No, nothing was said like that. Go ahead.
Can I ask the chair if she would allow my department head of the Children's Services to speak?
Yes,
Thank
please
you.
do so.
Thank you.
So I'm Jennifer Frankowicz. I've been here almost 7 years now. I started out as children's librarian, basically what this position would be, and I've moved up to the department head. I've been working in libraries for probably about 32 years, 33 years, I'd say. And not always as a children's librarian, but I have worked as a children's librarian for about 15 years now. I've had my master's degree that whole time. My last position was part-time, and I was an MLS librarian, and the job was required in MLS. And I do think it's very important to have one. I know a lot of people who work in the children's department who are great at story times, they're great at working with families, that sort of thing. But there's a piece to being a librarian and I'm going to say this is especially true of a children's librarian. Not everybody who works with children understands the library side of it. It's something that comes with getting a degree in library sciences. And I can tell you from experience, by the time I got my degree, I'd worked in libraries for about 10 years. And it made a huge difference to me to get my master's degree. It sort of showed me how, what was important in working in a library, that it wasn't just about books. It was about providing information and services to people. And my opinion is that it's most important to provide everything we can to children. They're the ones who need it the most, especially children who can't afford everything that other children can afford. Libraries, we're here to serve everybody, not just people who can afford it. So I think it's extremely important to be able to do the best we can with that. And I mean, of course, I'm disappointed that we didn't get a full-time children's librarian, but I do think there are people who would be very happy to work here as part-time. There are a lot of people who have kids or don't really need to work full-time. And having both sides, the experience and the master's degree, I think is so important, and I think it's going to make a huge difference. We do have a competitive pay, so I think we will get people interested that have everything we want. I would like to personally have somebody that can pick up duties with doing story times. We need more story times. I mean, our story times are so popular and so busy, and managing the department, I don't necessarily have time to put into doing more of that. I do my special programs every month, but to have somebody who can regularly add a story time, maybe two, and kind of come from a different place, it would give us variety. I just really, really think a master's degree is important, and I can't really say enough about that. So that's my opinion. The person will be working closely with me. And if anybody has any questions about what I do, I know I don't really know a lot of you very well, but if anybody has any questions about what I do and kind of where I'd like the children's department to go, I'd be more than happy to talk to any of you and answer questions.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
for
you very much.
giving me time.
Thank you.
You know what? I think we've had, I don't know, didn't we even have didn't we have someone made a motion? No, no one's made a motion yet. Okay. And, I think we all expressed, hopefully everyone's had an opportunity to express how they feel, and I mean, I'd be the first one to say I would love to have an MLS person. I feel like I'm responsible to just note that somewhere at some point in time, and it doesn't have to be this time or tomorrow or next year even, but at some point in time we have to consider the spending, okay, and the budget and stuff. And maybe it's more important to have an MLS in the children's department than it is to have the extra programs, some extra programs. I mean, we've doubled our programs, adult programs, and in the 2 years ago, we went from 1,000 something to 2,000 something. When you think about that, maybe the librarian is the more important thing than 10 more programs.
The librarian would make the programming possible.
Yes.
We have the extra
Yeah,
audit to do.
so that's what I'm saying, the librarian, we gotta start with the librarian, with the,
But having a librarian would make it possible to add more programs.
Liz, I think we can address all that all later.
yeah, let's just
I make a motion to accept both the job description and the posting
Second.
as written.
Thank you.
We've had
Seconded
enough
by Beth.
conversation, right? Can we take a vote?
I, Helen Palmieri.
No, Jan McLaughlin.
No, Liz Thomas.
I, Nancy Hendricks.
I got Rebecca.
No, Maura Ryan.
No, Christine Fitzgerald. We didn't see the posting.
The posting is there.
Is it the same?
It's the next page.
Excuse me. No one's talking to you. I'm asking a question.
Excuse me, it is attached right here to the next page, and I did email it to everybody.
Yeah.
And can I ask why we're voting no? Like, what? How do we move forward now? Because you just voted down the position that was voted on by the voters.
No, okay, yes.
So how do we move forward?
We want to make a change and all.
Okay, what's the change?
Woman. No, you don't.
I'll make a motion that we accept the job posting with suggested changes, including the equal opportunity statement and what was
Some wording about additional years of experience or something. So,
MLS or 5 years of experience.
something.
Can I speak to that for a
Yeah.
second? I guess I'm a little frustrated because I've been in this position here for over 4 years. I've been a director prior for almost 8 years. I've been in libraries since I was 15 and a half. I feel that I am qualified to write a job description for a position that at a library that I'm leading, and it's concerning that the board is having I don't mind the board's input, but I guess I don't know where the board falls that they have the responsibility to change the job description for a job that they don't know what does and what's not there and don't have experience or supervision or anything in it, and don't have degrees in library science and don't have experience in anything children's education or library related.
And no skin in the game. It doesn't impact
Like,
our day.
This brings a lot of concern going forward with any position I will bring to you, including my own, if this is the way the board is going to be. So, I'm very concerned.
Does anyone want to address that?
Sure.
Go ahead, Jim.
I'm sorry that if this concerns you, and I understand what you're saying. The reality is that there are many ways to get to various places. It does not mean that the person you hire may not necessarily have the MLS. I just think we need the flexibility to provide a venue for people to be able to apply. If you get 3 people that have MLS degrees and one person who doesn't, I assume that you're going to interview the MLS degrees. I'm just asking for flexibility, which is why I voted no. That's the reason that I voted no. I can't describe it for anybody else.
Beth?
I just want to make a statement. Hospitals have boards, and at no point do the board members decide what the qualifications are for the nursing staff or the surgeons or anything like that. They don't change job descriptions. So it is very frustrating that I've been coming to these meetings for 3 years, and every single time I watch Erin's frustration with the boards grow and grow and grow. And people are just letting this fall on ears that are just not receptive to hearing her feedback. She is literally giving this place her lifeblood. She tells us month after month how the board is lacking in their support of her job and the mission that she is here to carry out. And we just don't respond to her pleading with us, saying, this is my job, and it is getting substantially harder because of what the board is giving me for tasks or micromanagement or whatever. Like, she just needs to build a file for a job, and we are asking her to disregard her knowledge and her lived experiences and her qualifications so that we can change something that we don't have any personal skin in the game. This could be an utter failure, and we're just hurting the library, and we just go home at night like nothing happened.
Megan, I'm sorry, at this point, it's going to be a board, it's going to be the discussion.
Could I just
between the board.
reiterate something that I said earlier that I think you guys all missed? When I said the town of Londonderry voted for this position as salaried at a master's level. So what you guys are doing is changing the position that was voted on.
I'm sorry, that I do not accept that statement. They voted,
They voted on the position as salaried
I'm
for
sorry,
a master's degree.
no more discussion on that from outside of the board. Jan?
I hear the frustration that Erin's expressing, but I disagree with your assertion that Erin comes in every month and says the trustees are not supporting us. Just like I also disagree with people having, you got to come to the meeting tonight because the board members are not going to let they're not going to let the trustees are not going to let the programs happen or are going to ban the books. That's why they keep coming. Nope. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Excuse me.
I ask people to attend.
Excuse me.
That's what I think.
This is my. I'm responding to your assertion. I am. I'm responding to your assertion that we are ignoring Erin's pleas every month. I am not ignoring Erin's pleas or Donna's pleas or even Megan's pleas. I do hear them, and I do have a difference of opinion. Now, I'm only one vote. There are 7 members. But it does not mean that because we vote down something or because we ask for a change that we're saying, bad Erin. We still support Erin. We still support the library, or we wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have spent all day dealing with library things.
I'm sorry, I'm keeping this to just the board discussion right now, okay? Go ahead.
So when things go on the ballot, unless they explicitly state something, they do the biggest or maximum liability, which is why they probably did that. Whether or not we choose to put experience, there are people who would argue that experience is more valuable than a good degree and vice versa, and that's a difference of opinion. I understand that. But I don't think there's any harm in expanding the posting and trying to attract more people, and I don't think there's any harm in putting in an equal opportunity statement.
And the other thing is, I want to point out that to Erin that we're not saying 5 years experience. We're saying MLS or. We would expect you to look at anyone who comes in, to evaluate them based on if they have 5 years children's experience on an MLS, and for you to determine fairly determine that which one of these candidates would best fit, and come to us and say why they would best fit. We're not telling you can't have an MLS. We're telling you that we need to expand the thing and try to. I guess I'm trying to change the culture of this library right this minute that's been created in the last many years. Okay, because it doesn't seem to be the culture throughout the state for sure. Okay, go ahead.
Can I just speak to real quick?
1 minute. Please sit down. I explained to you, and you do not believe what I say, but I was told by the state librarian basically that we have an abnormal amount of MLSs. That's what the statement was, okay? That's all I'm telling you. That it's unusual for a library to have all of their full-time people being in MLS.
No, it's not.
Okay?
Liz, my mother worked at the library for 25 years. She was not a librarian. Every librarian I knew there had an MLS.
And that library
Every
may
single
have.
one. But that is the norm.
Yeah.
So
That is the norm in this client.
may I speak?
Yes.
Couple of things. One, it is not unusual to have an MLS, and I feel like librarians and those working in libraries or have experience in libraries can speak to that. And those are the only people that can speak to that. I worked in many different libraries. Every librarian had an MLS. It was a requirement. It was a state requirement in Massachusetts to have an MLS as director, and it was a requirement by libraries to have an MLS. That speaks to experience, knowledge, dedication to the profession. That's what that speaks to. 2, when you passed, there was no suggestion of change to the job description. To my understanding, the vote was to vote down the job description. There was no suggestions with these suggestions. So I have no problem putting in the equal opportunity. I will get the language from the town. That's not my issue. My issue is that I feel that the board does not trust me, and I collaborated with my staff to create this job description in allowing us to be able to have the knowledge to know what we need at our library. That's what it looks like to me. Now, if the board wants to vote and go forward with this job description, they need to tell me what the changes would be. I'm going to disagree with it, but I need the job, so I'm going to take it. But I don't agree with the board at all. So,
Let's go to Nancy first.
So many of you know that I spent a lot of years sitting on the Londonderry School Board, and before that I sat on the school board in Jaffrey Ridge. And you know, there are times that you hire people, and you hire a superintendent, you hire an assistant superintendent, you hire a psychologist. And so the director of human resources brings you the job description for the psychologist. A school board would never say, oh no, we don't need him to have a doctorate. Just hire somebody that's got equivalent experience. It would never happen. It would never happen. So I am disappointed that this board does not want to raise the bar and keep the bar where it is and make our library the flagship library that we know that it is and can be. So I'm very disappointed.
Would it satisfy this group if we added the, I forget what it's called, I apologize.
Equal
opportunity, thank you. And if we change one word in this first line and under the minimum qualifications from required to preferred, that would still, I feel like, make different parts of this table happy.
Preferred would be fun.
And then we could post it and move forward.
I'm happy with preferred.
I'd just like to add that no one's saying you can't hire someone with MLS. I mean, you're just opening the door for more people to apply.
That aren't necessarily qualified.
Right.
Okay, but then if they're not qualified, then they don't get the job.
Okay, so here's my concern. I'm going to bring a candidate forward. I'm going to bring a candidate forward.
Motion?
She did not.
I didn't, but I was going to.
Okay, why don't you make your motion?
Okay, I make a motion to change the word required to preferred and to add a equal opportunity clause in alignment with what the town has in their other documentation.
Second.
Okay. I, Helen Palmieri.
I, Jan McLaughlin.
I, Liz Thomas.
I, Nancy Hendricks.
No background.
Yes, Maura Ryan.
Yes, Christine Fitzgerald.
Go ahead.
Okay, so Liz, I just double checked the email. This, the job posting was not in the document. I know we got it tonight, but I didn't review it. It wasn't in the big packet of emails.
No, and I had sent an email, I believe it was yesterday, apologizing
6/2.
that because
Okay,
it
I
fell
didn't see
late,
it.
but
Yes.
it was there, and
No, I think it was sent out on 6/2. That was an afterthought.
Okay. Well, that's,
I'm sorry.
I'm just saying, I printed everything out, made my notes on it, and
Yes.
that's why I said I didn't see it.
Yeah.
So I could be prepared for our meeting by looking at all the documents ahead of time. And it was not in that set of documents.
I have one statement, Erin. I know what you were going to say. You're afraid we're going to now look at who you're choosing and not trust who you're choosing.
that's absolutely true.
And I want to tell you right now, I personally am not going to. I believe that you are a great director and that you have the ability, that you will look at everyone and be fair in your evaluation. I know you personally, your mindset is that if these two people are equal, but this one has an MLS, then that one's going to be the best because she's got the degree or he's got the degree, okay? And I trust that you will pick the best candidate. We just want you to give an opportunity to other people to consider, other people. That's all we're asking.
Okay.
Comments, anything? No. Okay. I'm sorry, this is going on for a long time. We haven't discussed, I think we need to move on to reports and get.
Well, I would recommend that the board needs to approve the treasurer's report. This has not been approved yet, and we can't submit it to finance or do anything with it because it hasn't been approved. So I would skip the other reports just so we can get the treasurer's report taken care of, if Jan agrees with that.
Jan, are you agreeing with
I
that?
would agree to it as long as it's, I would agree to it, but I would like it to be called the quarterly report or something, because it's still not the treasurer's report, because it wasn't. Yeah, anyway, so I don't agree with being called the treasurer's report, but I'm fine with us accepting this report.
Okay.
At whatever it's called.
Do we need to defer this and in 2 weeks have a meeting?
No, I think we should just accept it.
Okay.
It's also for it's for the first quarter of this year, of this calendar year.
Yep.
But for the third quarter, and we're currently, a month away from finishing the fiscal year. So we have another one still to go.
Yeah.
I make a motion that
we need to make a vote.
I make a motion that we accept the third quarter report.
Second? Oh, no, question.
Well, question, but if somebody else wants a second.
Yeah, does anyone?
Second.
Okay, now conversation.
So, I know you keep saying you don't write the treasurer's report. Have you verified this information to ensure that it's correct?
I have not.
Okay.
But it is your responsibility to check it then, if it's sent to you in a certain amount of time.
I agree.
Okay.
I honestly don't think that we can vote this, approve this until it's been verified. Does anyone have any opinion about that?
We've accepted the reports in the past and have adjusted them when there's been an error caught. Errors that are caught are usually like, $2.75.
Okay, so you're saying-
$1.14. I mean, there's not usually been a large error.
You're saying previous experience tells you that there's really not going to be a big issue in this?
Correct.
Is everyone comfortable? Discussion, your comfort level in voting for this and based on that statement?
I don't know, if the treasurer is not, if she didn't review it, then I'm not comfortable.
Well, I
voting it.
reviewed it today. I just haven't run the numbers with the account book.
So there's nothing that strikes you as out of the ordinary in it?
No.
I didn't second it, no.
I did.
Helen, did you?
Any other comments? Okay, do we have any motions?
You have a motion.
Well, we had a
Oh, we
motion.
do. Oh, okay, we've had discussion. Okay, are we ready to vote?
I guess. I'm going to say yes, Helen Palmieri.
Yes, Jim McLaughlin.
Yes, Liz Thomas.
Yes, Beth Miranda.
No, Maura Ryan.
No, Christine Fitzgerald.
Okay, then it passes. And I guess at 10 past 10, I don't think we wanted to start discussing.
Well,
I think we should.
I just have some update. Anyway.
Yes, go
I'm going to
ahead.
have to leave, unfortunately. I
Yeah.
have to go.
I today went to the library. Maura came with me went to the Citizens Bank today to see if there had been any changes. First, they couldn't find either account at the teller's office, the teller's window. I then had to go to the one of the bank officers, or whatever you want to call them, who was the person I had spoken with 2 weeks ago, who told me I wasn't on one of the accounts. And she said, "You're still not on the account." And I said, "Okay, I just wanted to find that out." And I said, how long does it take when things get to update the account? And she says, well, like Aaron had said, about 48 hours. Sometimes it might take 3 or 4 days, depending upon when it hits. And she said, have you been working with Lynn Galinas, I think is the right name, but the person from the business department? And I said, well, I've called them, but she doesn't call me, she called Aaron. I said, I'd just like to find out exactly, where we are in the process. At the last meeting, the discussion was that there was a discussion about, was a suggestion made by one of the public members. The gentleman from the budget committee had mentioned that he'd had good experience with St. Mary's Bank, and that if we're having some issues with, for instance, them not checking the signature of the checks, etc., that perhaps we might want to consider moving the account. So Maura and I did go to St. Mary's today to find out if we decided as a board to make the change, what documentation would be needed to do that. And I now know what the documentation would be. We need the EIN number, and we would need minutes from a board meeting showing who the people are supposed to be on the account, who the signatories are for each account. And it would cost $5, which is St. Mary's normal. You have to become a member, so the library would have to become a member at $5, and I'd be happy to donate the $5 if we decided to do that. But at least I now know what would be required if we chose to open a new account. And I assume similar requirements are required for other banks as well. We did ask the question about, do you check the signature, or would, if a check comes through, is somebody at least going to look at the electronic signature of the people that are signing the check? And she said yes, that would come up on the screen and show that. Since then, in discussions with our new town manager about the possible MOU decisions, etc., he said, you realize you really should be having 2 people signing each check, not one person. It's better, less liability if there are 2 people that have to sign every check. And so that's another piece of information to go along with that. So when we're talking about, the needs of the accounts, that those are in fact the most up-to-date thing that we, that we're still pending on that, and that we, at this time, as we're clearing out the account, we still have not resolved that.
Okay, Helen?
And between May 20th, our last meeting, and you guys going to St. Mary's today, did you come talk to Aaron about any of this?
No.
Yes, I signed the paper that you presented to me to be signed.
Yeah.
And at the time, I said, I don't understand why Helen's name is on here. I said, I understand Helen had, my understanding at the last meeting was that Helen had volunteered that if we can't get it squared away until the beginning of the next fiscal year, that she would stay on the account because it's easier because she's already there.
Right.
Although she's not on both accounts, I don't think, but I don't know. So I did sign that, and
So when did you sign that? At the
last week. No, sometime last week when I went in to sign checks the first time.
Because it seems like you're both doing double duty. Because if she did stuff and she got the paperwork that we needed to have signed, and you signed it and I signed it, but you also went to talk to them.
I did not go to sign. I first went to find out what the status was of the account.
Do you know what date that was?
It was before the last meeting.
Okay.
It was before the last meeting. I went in because I just wanted to make sure that everything was squared away, because I knew that we'd had a shift in chair people.
Right. But so that's the same information you shared with us last time then?
Correct.
Okay. It sounded like for a minute that you were saying that you went again.
I did go today. I went today.
Okay.
Because
Even though you knew Aaron was trying to update them.
I wasn't sure whether it had been updated or not.
Okay.
I knew that she had collected Liz's signature,
Okay.
so I wasn't sure it had been updated or not.
Okay.
And I wanted to know what the status was so I could report out.
Okay.
Because we had discussed it at the last meeting, and I wanted to be able to say, this is where we are today. So this is where we are today. So I wasn't trying to duplicate the time, but
I would like to share that I did get everybody's signatures. In fact, Helen's I got tonight, so I will be able to submit that online if the board is accepting of that, which I have the contact information and the proper materials to be able to do that. And from what I understand, it will take 24 to 48 hours to make those change on these two accounts that we have with Citizens.
It seems like it makes most sense to follow through with that and then still possibly pursue switching to St. Mary's if we, based on other things that we've heard, but that Erin probably should submit that so we make sure that your name is on both accounts.
because I am concerned. I'm worried that some check will somehow fall through and somebody will say that, oh, we're not going to pay it or something. But I am concerned. Now we have 3 people that'll be signatories on the account, and I would like to express as the treasurer that I think it's great to have backup, either 1 or 2 people, and I'm fine with the number. It's just that I would encourage both of you to, if we could coordinate so that if I don't have some way of getting information of what's been signed, I would be concerned about that. I think that we don't need to be able to sign checks every 3 or 4 days. That we certainly can go a week unless there's a pressing reason that we have to go instantly. Most of the things still are well within the 30 days, the 30-day time period. I understand it's more of a problem toward the end of the fiscal year. Fortunately, we're coming toward the end of that, but we still have a little bit of wiggle room, not much at this point. So that I would like I want to make that comment. It's just like, okay, well, I can run over and sign checks today. But if we were going to be doing this double thing, there's going to be another piece that has to happen so that we can make sure we get the things signed by both people.
Yeah.
So the reason that I have encouraged more than one person was because there have been times where I've reached out to you, Jan, and just come, because I always email you and Liz to let you know, and I think sometimes I've included Helen to let you know that there are checks to sign, and I hear nothing for days. And so that's where I get concerned, because these checks do need to go out to our vendors. We are coming down to the end of the year, but even during the year, we've had checks sit on my table for over a week, and I don't know who's coming. So to have the backup, I think, is really important, because then if something does go awry, which is, again, why my name is on the account, we have someone at least else to sign the check. And that's why we've always had at least 2 people on it. The third person, from what I understand at the last meeting, was that Helen was going to be on it until July, so that we would have, and then Liz added herself, and then obviously you. So if I got that wrong, my apologies, but that was my understanding, that we would potentially change that after July. That would be a board decision, but I thought that was the vote, that all 3 of you would be on it.
We didn't.
Well, I don't know if it was a vote, but I thought that was the consensus. So that is, I will take ownership to that. That is my understanding. And when I presented it to Liz and obviously Helen, they did not argue that. So I thought that was fine. But
That's what we have in the minutes, the ones that Beth took and the ones that I took. So.
Well, I think that right now, because I think that, was it Sean that you told us that other groups are getting 2 signatures now?
No.
You can say that, but I mentioned
you said that,
in
okay.
discussions with Sean, he mentioned that we should be having 2 signatures on
Yeah.
the check.
That's a corporate course of action. It's a fraud prevention technique. That way you've got one person that can't take and clean out the account and head off to South America.
Right.
So you have 2 people signing
So,
up for that.
yeah,
I think
so
you have to have
if
2
we,
responsible
if we
So-
had 3,
this is where
one would be a backup if one of the other 2 were missing.
But as I say, if it takes a week to get a check signed, and we're still within the 30 days, I don't think that that should be a big deal. I don't believe that we should have to, within a day, sign a check.
I'm not saying within a day, but I don't hear anything. I don't get an email back saying I'm coming in on this day or this day. So that's why I get concerned, because I don't know if someone has either seen the email, gotten the email, checking their email, and is able to sign the check. So
And then today, or not today, but this week, I stopped in and said, "You have checks? I'll
Yep.
be happy to sign them."
Yep.
So that we wouldn't spend the time at the end of the meeting signing checks.
Right.
We're trying to do it at the beginning of the meeting because I know that we now are spending.
because I emailed you and let you know that I had checks to sign.
Right, but that wasn't why I came in. I came in because I was making sure, in due diligence, to make sure that things
Okay.
were cleared before tonight's meeting, so that it wouldn't involve staying later than required.
Okay, can we, okay, I'm sorry.
So are you giving me permission to submit these names to citizens
Yes.
in order to get everybody's names on the account?
Yes.
Okay.
So
Thank
that
you.
we can keep this process going.
Okay.
And then, if at a later date we choose to, and we have to give them, the benefit of the doubt, because, they have to realize that, we have a treasurer who's gonna come in and be checking the accounts. So we need to notify them that, Jan will be in and asking to look at the accounts, which is
I was
totally
trying to get
appropriate.
permission to do online banking, and I can't do that until we know who the super user is, and nobody seems to know that. So,
Well,
I spoke to the woman at the bank, and she said there is no super user when you have this kind of account. There's only a super user when you have an online account. That's what I was told.
No,
so
that she
what
just
what
said
she
she
said,
wants
what
to
she said to
go
me,
online.
what she said to me was that I couldn't find out about that other account, but that for this account, for the account that I'm on, that I can't get an online account until the super user, that she can't see on her chart, the super user, who is some other person that I don't know who that is, and she didn't know who it was, gives permission for me to have online access to view it.
So the woman I spoke to, just to clarify, said that there is no super user on the account we have now, that a super user would be created when the online account. And I did want to recommend again that the board, before you have an online account, that the board create a policy and procedure to protect Jan and the board and anyone who takes over this situation or has access to the situation, so that there is no, there's no worry there, that the board create a policy and procedure around it before that account is created. And maybe there are other libraries that have online accounts. I have checked in with a few library directors to see if that's common, and everybody I spoke to said it was not at their library. So, and thought it was unusual to have, but the board would decide on that. I just recommend that the board come up with policy and procedure.
Okay, Christine?
I just wanted to make a suggestion. I don't know if it will work out for you or not, but is there like a set day that you could say, like, okay, every Monday at 10 o'clock, I'll come in to sign checks?
Well,
Just
I think that a couple days a month. I don't think we have to every month, every week.
No, or like say like the 1st and the 15th or something like that.
I think that if there's a couple of days a month that we sign checks, I'd be happy to set up a schedule or whatever else. Because I think there are other things that we also have to deal with, as far as like coming up with tracking other accounts or other money that goes in and out of the library. So, but we never get to that part yet. So when we get to that part, hopefully some of that will make sense.
Yeah, it's just a suggestion
It's a good suggestion.
Okay, I would
Maura has one thing to say.
I would suggest that this might be open more.
So I actually agree that the GAP principles state that 2 people should sign, and I think we should pursue that.
Yes.
And if we need to have another meeting to discuss financial elements, I think we should also do that.
Yeah.
And I don't know if, Jan, you want to sort of lead that charge, but I am going to reiterate, I'm not comfortable with a bank that doesn't check against the signature card. I'm not comfortable with, knowing that she's written checks against an account where she's not a signatory, and I think we need to resolve those problems immediately.
Okay. Yeah.
So maybe we call for an emergency meeting? And
Well, I would at least like, it may take, so when Aaron submits this, it's going to take 3 or 4 days.
I will certainly share once
Right,
I
what we're
hear
saying
back.
is, so that since we have a meeting scheduled whatever the next meeting is, the
July
9th of
yeah.
July, that by the 9th of July, certainly things will be taken care of.
Can we make sure that it's noted on the agenda that this
The
will be
financial
discussed
stuff, we need
as
to
number
discuss the
one?
financial,
Yeah.
the interaction between the town and us financially, as well as, by then we'll know, here's how we performed for the budget, so we can figure out what we're going to do for the upcoming budget as we go forward.
Liz, no, I don't think we should.
Yeah.
I just have a clarifying question. Is there any expectation that I bring anything to that meeting for that discussion?
For the financial discussion?
Yes.
Not as far as I know.
Okay.
Unless,
Well,
not as far as I know, because I don't think we're doing any new procedures, and I don't think we're tracking the donations the same way, so I don't know.
But July 9th is our regular scheduled meeting, so you'll bring whatever you normally would bring, your reports.
Right. I'm just asking if there's anything in addition that I need to bring.
No, I
For that
don't
discussion.
know if anyone else does. No.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you want to skip the reports for tonight?
I'd like to defer that
Okay.
until the next meeting.
Okay, and then just there's other materials included in your packet if you'd like to take a look at them. The only thing I want to say on my report is that if you can read it, but just to bring the board aware of some House bills that are coming up that have not been decided yet that could affect library policies and procedures. Certainly, I'll keep the board aware of when those changes happen and what we'll have to do, but we can certainly discuss that last time. I just wanted to let the board aware that we are tracking it and we are aware of it.
Good, thank you.
Do you want to do public comment?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Hi. Honor Reinhold, 77 Pendleton Lane. I have 2 points after listening to this 3.5-hour meeting. For the children's position, I voted on the ballot expecting that position to have a master's in library science, both full-time and part-time. That was how I read it. That's how I expect it. I, as a voter, expect the director to be able to post the position as she thinks it needs, and I expect the board to approve. I know you said you trust her in that, but it did not come off publicly as that, and that is how I see it publicly. There is a lot in the Master's of Science degree that is different from an education. And all those who voted no, Christine, Maura, Liz, Jan, I suggest you spend a day with the library in the children's room. A lot goes on there and a lot more is involved than I think you know. So I think it would be beneficial for the board to spend a full day in the children's room and see what the staff does. And you get to hang out with Oscar, he's really cool. The job market is terrible. There are more people with MLS degrees than positions. You will get an applicant. And if you don't get an applicant, you could have always resubmitted the job with the additional experience. Secondly, it sounds like you are adding additional work to the library staff for your benefit, for your knowledge. I understand it's needed. But as someone who has been in the position of having additional work being added while my job is being reviewed and revised, it doesn't feel good. So I expect the board to extend the staff grace if there are delays so they do not impact service to the public, especially if the board wants additional quotations. That takes time and people don't always get back to you. And if needed, the board to do the lead work to get the additional information they need. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments?
You don't want me to stop.
Okay, yes.
You people are a mess.
Azurpalo, 17 Bancroft Road. I want to say that I'm so glad that this meeting is recorded because the public can see the behavior of certain board members. They can see how disorganized this is. And the fact that we're still here 3.5 hours later and this is normal, this is pretty much par for the course here, it's really embarrassing. It really is embarrassing. And I, unlike some people in the public, can speak to being a children's librarian with a master's degree. And I can absolutely tell you that it is required. I, as a fellow librarian, I'm so proud of the work that Jen has done, and she does a lot. But she needs the help. And as a taxpayer, I voted as well for this position with an MLS degree. And to hear this board talk about it in circles and circles and circles, and then come to a decision to not approve it after all the work that went into putting this on the ballot, again, it's embarrassing. So I really hope that the next meeting is a lot shorter, and again, the people do their homework. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Richard Belinsky, 89 Hall Road. Well, people are entitled to their opinion. The Warren article was for a part-time children's librarian. Let's not, I'm not going to argue whether an MLS is needed or not. I'm not in a position to do that. The average voter does not know that the salary that was in that is based on an MLS. It was not presented that way, and the average person doesn't know that. So let's eliminate that talk. If it's needed and that's what was meant, that's a different story. Second of all, you got to get your financial house in shape. I've been saying this for 6 months, and this is absolutely ridiculous how this is handled. I was the town treasurer for 3 years. It was 20 years ago. I'm the one that put the purchasing policy in place in this town. I'm the one that put the deputy treasurer, so if something happened to the treasurer, there'd be somebody to sign checks. And a year later, I had a heart attack and was out. All right? The way this is being handled, this financial, is ridiculous. This is nothing against Aaron. Aaron should not be on the bank accounts. Read the state law. The monies are the responsibility of the Board of Trustees, all monies. End of discussion. And if she wants to take this personal, it's not personal. She should not be involved in the bank accounts. New people, the excuse that was given is because you have turnover, people come, people go, and she's the constant. You still have other board members. You do exactly what was said. You have minutes of your meeting that states who is on the accounts. You bring them to the bank, and you do that when people change. You're putting yourself in a position where people have access to these accounts that should not have access to them. You have 2 accounts right now, your trustee and your book. I believe you're supposed to have a third, and I'll come back at the next meeting. There's supposed to be one for your fines and all that that's kept separate. It's not supposed to be commingled by state law. You just got to get your act together here. I've been coming since October trying to get you people to do this. First thing was the camera. Oh, we can't get it because we don't have the money to pay for it. I got the camera. I talked to Drew because it's in the contracts with Comcast. I'm willing to help. Ask. And I'm not going to be shy or quiet about it. Get your act together. This whole bit with these bank accounts should be settled in a day or 2. End of discussion. Get it done.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay. Convene the meeting.
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Roll call. Aye, Liz Thomas.
Aye, Jan McLaughlin.
Aye, Beth Marco.
I'm Maura Ryan.
Hi, Christine Fitzgerald.
Thank you all for your patience. Thank you.